All right, what is going on, everybody? This is the Xbox 2 podcast, and I am one of your hosts. Technically, this isn't even my show anymore. This is my co-host show, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. He's here, and we got a lot to talk about. 2 podcasts in 1 week, so what's going on, Jez? You are the leader of this podcast. This is Jez's show as usual, so... How you doing, buddy? How as my boss? How's your day been?
Boss? What are you talking about? Silly old Rand. What is he like, chat? What is he like? I'm doing pretty good, mate. I'm doing pretty good, and I'm pretty excited to talk about stuff this week because finally, let's be honest, Rand. The last few weeks we've kind of been scraping the barrel for topics.
That is true.
What do you think?
We make it work though, and people like the show, so it's all good.
We make it work, but damn, it's been pretty rough out here in these in the newsosphere. Is that even a word? No, it isn't. But I'm making it up. And but now this week, even though we did a podcast on Monday, as you said, we still got a load of new, fresh news right off the presses across the whole industry.
It's almost like when you went up to the mountain, you brought the news back, but it was delayed a little bit.
Yeah, man, I did. I went up the mountain. I prayed to the sky gods of Xbox. I said, "Oh lords of Xbox, grant us some news." And they're a bit lagged, but yeah, we got some news this week. Thank God. Thank the sky gods of Xbox.
Yes.
And, yeah, the mountain was fun.
It is. So, let's just start the weekly interview of Jez Corden, as that is what the show is all about, right? According to some websites out there, this is your weekly interview.
Oh yeah, who was it who said that?
That was Paul Tass. He said that.
Yeah, Forbes said in a recent interview with Jez Corden. Oh my God. Oh well, it's pretty mean. Well, the thing is, Rand, you could leak shit, but you just don't. You just don't, and then it would be the Rand show through and through. If you'd only just, actually leak something instead of quote unquote predicting things.
Well, yeah, well, when we talked last week about the idea of 2 shows this summer, you thought I was trying to predict something, even though I said it wasn't. It was just a thought. Like, what if they did 2 shows? And
Rand, but you see, maybe that's the double bluff.
The double bluff?
The double bluff.
What's the double bluff?
Maybe you just like, I'll untrick him this time, but then I'll trick him next time.
Intentionally get it wrong, so I throw people off the scent.
Yeah, exactly. I see what you're playing at, Rand. You're trying to pull the double bluff, but yeah, there is 1 show, not 2 shows. And I guess your prediction really was
that wasn't a prediction. It was just literally speculation about the idea of doing 2 shows, because I think at some point in the future they're going to do 2 shows. I don't think it'll always be the Xbox, like in 2 years, are we going to have the Xbox Bethesda Activision Warner Brothers Discovery Showcase? You know what I mean? Are we going to have that in a few years? I hope so. That would be dope.
Bethesda.
That would absolutely be dope. But hey,
it'd also be a 4-hour show.
I take it all the more. Remember the one time? What was this, like last year? I know a lot of people remember this in chat when Jez was like, "Do we really?" This was before Activision. This was after they got Bethesda. Jez was like, "Do we really need more studios?" And I'm like, "Yes, you always need more. More. And you're like, "I don't know. It's diminishing returns. We don't need more studios." And I'm like, "No, you get as much as you can. You get as much as you can."
Well, think about it this way, Rand. How much did they pay for Activision? 72 billion, right? Off the top of my head.
I think so.
Well, and how much? Let's envisage. They decide we'll put a bid in for Ubisoft. Like, how much is Ubisoft? Like 20 billion, maybe 30 billion.
No. Ubisoft would probably be like 12 to 15, maybe. Cheap.
Yeah, I guess.
Cheap in comparison.
They do have some mobile games, don't they, Ubisoft? I don't know. But anyway, they'd be cheap. But then I start. But at that point, I start thinking, man, you could put that money towards, I don't know, reviving Windows Phone or something. Something useful.
I mean, Windows Phone deserves to be in the grave. where where it belongs. You know what I mean?
That's horrible. That's horrible, Rand. I'm depressed now.
Yeah,
I'm depressed.
But anyways, thank you guys for joining the show Friday. We appreciate everyone being here, like all the channel members. Like, I know I'm gonna get some of these names wrong, like Fati and Sleepy Goblin 2D. We got some of my pals like Pong Soul, who I did a podcast with yesterday. Did PM in the PM on Fun Speculations channel. Check that out. You know, a lot of great people in the chat, and if you're lurking, just say hi, strike up a conversation, or not, because I normally lurk, and I that's the way I enjoy to listen to my podcast. I just sit back and chill. But thank you guys for being here. Before we get into the topics, if you guys would do us a huge favor, make sure you hit that like button. Hopefully we can get it to above 500 before the end of the show, 1,000 afterwards. And please share this out on YouTube. Let everybody know we are live on a Friday, not Saturday this week, and not a Monday. We would greatly appreciate it. So, yeah, we got a couple super chats I want to read off first, Jez, before we get into the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, how Xbox is proving doubters wrong. Your article, Xbox got its mojo back? I saw that you wrote something. There was an update regarding Xbox Activision deal. Not only an update, but there was an article that was written that caused some stir online a little bit. PlayStation is kind of also the center of some controversy. I'll definitely talk about all that. So first off, we got Jeremy G in the super chat that says Rand won't join the Battle Shrimp because he knows the Chet Armada are going to be wiping the floor with them. I have no idea what that means.
I've heard about this.
What is this?
Okay, so Windows Central's Discord, the official Windows Central Discord, which, by the way, if you want to join it, send me a DM on Twitter, or I'll drop a link in the comments after the show, and on the description on Spotify and stuff. The Windows Central official Discord has challenged, or was it the other way around? Well, one of them challenged each other on the GamesBeat Discord. Jeff Grubb's Discord server have challenged the Windows Central Discord to a Halo battle.
A Halo battle, okay.
So they're gonna play Halo against each other, the two Discords, and the Windows Central's team is called Battle Shrimp, and they were saying they want you for the Windows Central team, man.
Okay, interesting. And for those wondering, this specific episode of Xbox 2 is not sponsored by Manscaped, but you could always use code XB2 at Manscaped checkout for 20% off, right, Jez?
Yeah, you can. The code is still active, even though they're not sponsoring this particular video.
Yes.
Our code is still live. And if you want 20% off, there you go.
Yes. East Texas Alex says, hello, Randall, podcast Friday or Saturday, and every now and then Monday. I'm extremely happy you're back making videos again. Hit that like button, everyone. That's right. My long time away from making YouTube videos was lifted yesterday. Felt good. It felt good to sit down and make a video, Jez. So I did yesterday, and you know, it's good to be back. I think I took off too much time, but you know, there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out in the next obviously months. So gotta get back on the bicycle. But it was nice to make a video. So if you guys are listening, you know, check out that video if you haven't already. Yeah, so maybe I don't know. I have an idea for a video for tomorrow, but I'm not sure anybody would care because it's a little bit older news. But I might just make it anyways because why not? Right?
Of course they care, buddy. Of course they care. Just make a video. I blog about anything.
Yeah, but blogging and making videos is different. How long did it take you to write that article yesterday about Xbox getting its mojo back? 10 minutes at most.
20 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference between writing something that takes 20 minutes and a video which takes
come on.
2 to 3
video
hours.
Only takes about, YouTube video only takes about 10 minutes to make. What are you talking about?
No. It definitely does not.
Hmm?
Definitely does not. DB Cooper,
No?
He says, cheers. Can't wait for June 12th. And a lot of people are in the same boat with you. They cannot wait for June 12th. Brett says, Tron music plays. Yeah, a lot of people enjoy the intro music that we have for the starting soon screen. I almost forget
it's a good track, man.
It is a good track.
It's catchy.
It is. You remember when we did this podcast and we just would go live Now we're actually kind of like legit podcast in a way. We got a starting soon screen. We got intro music. We got an intro trailer that Sean LeBrie made. We're kind of professional almost in a way.
Almost. We just need A, Patreon, and B, to go on camera. And then we do it.
No, true. Patreon. Maybe we can tie those two together,
Oh, yeah. It's like OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, yeah.
See vids of Jez and Rand, only $10 a month.
Yeah, maybe we could do a podcast specifically for Patreons where we're on camera, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Achievement says, still working, but you guys have a good show, and I'll catch the replay tonight on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify. That's right. If you're not listening live, you can always check out the show later, whether it's on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify. And we just want you to listen. It doesn't matter if you listen live or if you're just lurking or anything. It's like we just appreciate everybody tuning in. Humdrum says, WB is supposedly selling studios IPs according to Imran Khan. NetherRealm Studios is the only studio I think Xbox should absolutely gun for. Thoughts? Love the show. That is a topic. That is a topic. You want to just dive into this one right away?
Yeah, let's do it. First topic of the day. Imran Khan's tweet about Warner Brothers.
Yeah, you have the tweet because I sent it to you. So read the tweets so we can get context for everybody.
Oh my God, I've got to open Twitter again then.
Oh
Give
my
me
God.
a second. Give me a second. Give me a moment. Okay, right. We got the tweets up here. Okay. Imran Khan, who is a known news editor over at Fanbyte Media. He says, couldn't get enough confirmation to actually write a post about this, but hearing a decent bit of chatter this week about Warner Brothers Discovery shopping their game development studios around. Interested parties include EA, Take-Two, Microsoft, Sony, Tencent, NetEase, and PUBG Corporation. WBD wants to sell studios and license IP, supposedly. So that'd be like selling off Rocksteady and selling off NetherRealm, but then keeping the IP and then licensing them out. Which is certainly a very interesting way of handling it. So, Rand, you're the guy who often says you would have preferred Warner Brothers acquisition to Activision Blizzard.
1,000,000%.
Even though you get the business sense.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they bought Activision. It makes sense.
But so maybe we should hear your opinion first.
Well, first,
Microsoft is mentioned as an interested party.
Yes. Well, of course, Microsoft's going to be mentioned. Well, maybe not in everything, but Microsoft wasn't mentioned as an interest in Ubisoft, right? Which we talked about last week. It just all of a sudden, it just seems like every publisher is except for EA, Take-Two, because it seems like they're interested in bolstering up rather than selling off, right? So, all right. This is the one that I've always kind of, for the lack of a better word, coveted. Bethesda was amazing because Bethesda makes incredible games that I actually love to play. Whether it's the Dishonored franchise from Arcane, the games from Machine Games, the Wolfenstein franchise. I really like Elder Scrolls, although I'm not that big of a fan of Fallout. And Starfield might be scratching that itch because me, I love my sci-fi stuff. So Starfield might be a big thing for me. So I was a big fan of Bethesda. And I was extremely happy when Microsoft purchased them. I was like, this is more than I could possibly imagine, right? Because I was happy when Microsoft went on their acquisition spree in 2018 when they bought those 5 studios like Ninja Theory and Playground Games and In Exile and Obsidian. I thought I'm like, all right, we're finally, after all these years, investing in first party instead of relying on second party deals and marketing deals to drive your business. This is a good sign. But there was always that one studio out there that was kind of like, you know what, I would really, Rocksteady Games with the Batman series, it's NetherRealm Studios with Mortal Kombat, Monolith with Middle-earth games, Traveler's Tales with the Lego games, and I'm probably blanking on the other studios at this moment, but
Microsoft's already got Lego games.
Yeah,
I fucked up that joke.
Yeah, you did. So I was just like, man, WB would, remember last year after Sony revealed Spider-Man 2 as well as Wolverine, there was this sentiment that Xbox needs its own superhero game, right? Well, it's like, well, WB has a bunch of superhero games, superhero developers that you could, leverage. And we had heard through reporting that this was before the Bethesda deal, that Microsoft was interested. This was when AT&T was trying to get rid of it before the whole Warner Brothers Discovery thing. And, through the grapevine, I think we had heard that Microsoft bid on them and a couple other places bid, but they were rejected. And it was like, all right. So then the whole Warner Brothers Discovery thing happened. And it seemed like they were they were going to keep their studio. So we've talked about this on the show recently. I was like, well, it seems like you can scratch off Warner Brothers Discovery as a potential acquisition because it seems like they're going to be like, all right, we have these games coming. Let's see what's going to happen. And maybe we, take a second look at it later on. But according to Imran Khan, who even though he didn't get enough confirmation to write an article about it, it was at least enough to make a tweet about it, which is okay. You know what I mean? Because writing a tweet, like him tweeting about it is going to get as much coverage, if not more, than him writing about it for Fanbyte. You know what I mean? Because now we're talking about it in this podcast. I see it being retweeted like crazy across the internet. There's threads about it on Reset Era. They're discussing it on the Xbox Era Discord. Presumably other places, right? Sony's mentioned, so PlayStation fans are going to be talking about it. So now it's entered into the social unconscious, or subconscious rather, about, okay, they're selling.
Zeitgeist.
They're selling, because that's what it is. Like, people read that and they're like, oh man, WB, they're actually selling. This is going to happen. Someone's going to get them, but not necessarily be the case. But Microsoft, I want this to happen. Like, come on. I'm not joking around when I say in a couple years I want there to be an Xbox Bethesda Activision WB Discovery Capcom game showcase. You know what I mean? I think that would...
I'll tell you what would be awesome. Warner Brothers in tandem with Activision.
Okay.
And I say this because one of the big... because if you remember on this show, I think I put it out there that I'd heard that Warner Brothers was trying to sell NetherRealm and Traveler's Tales.
Yes, you did.
Right? I actually saw documentation that seemed to suggest that, because they put those two, or that sort of enclave of studios, and Traveler's Tales has a couple of studios, 2 or 3 or something like that. They put them all into like a separate sort of, I don't know what you call it, like an incubator kind of thing. And like the language in the document that I read was sort of like, yeah, they're looking to spin these out or sell them off, right? There were also the studios that sort of they had, obviously Mortal Kombat is owned by Warner Brothers, but Lego is not owned by Warner Brothers. They just licensed that IP. But like at the same time, Warner Brothers and Mortal Kombat is very much a video game IP. I mean, they do have the Mortal Kombat movie, but it didn't do very well. And it's not really known for being a movie. It's known for being a video game first and foremost. Whereas like Rocksteady is Batman and more Batman, and DC
and
stuff.
Suicide Squad, and Monolith is Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of like it made sense that they want to sell the studios that weren't exactly tied to IP that Warner Brothers owns from a media entertainment perspective. Like they weren't able to make a good movie out of Mortal Kombat, even though on their reports they're giving it another go. Isn't there going to be a Mortal Kombat sequel, I think
so, yeah.
Unless I'm going crazy. It sounds like they're giving it another go for now, but it doesn't sound like their Discovery is particularly interested in being a video game company. And Warner Brothers itself didn't seem very interested in it either. And considering how much money they spend on, sort of keeping some of these studios afloat while not releasing any games, that's a huge amount of overhead, Like it's been years since Rocksteady released anything. It's been quite a few years since when did Shadow of War come out? 2017, I want to say, something like that.
And most likely Wonder Woman's probably 2024.
Yeah, and that's a lot of dev time for games that like probably won't have a huge service component potentially. and they don't have any service components existing under those studios to create cash flow. So all that is just overhead right now, and they're probably thinking like, we need to, think about getting rid of this, streamline our business or whatever, and give it to a company that knows how to do something with it. And the reason I say it'd be cool if they got Activision and these studios is because Rocksteady and Monolith in particular could adapt some Blizzard franchises into games pretty easily, I think. For example, Prototype. I always see people talking about Prototype all the time when it comes to this deal. Like, it's one of the number one franchises that I see people would like to come back from Activision. For those who don't know, Prototype is it's a superhero game, basically. It's like you play as like a sort of Spawn-ish allegory, and you just go around murdering and destroying everything. It was just great sandbox fun. And it was, didn't have the best story, didn't have the best mechanics, but it was just non-stop one-ton violence. It was the ultimate power fantasy game. It was kind of, I guess it was similar to Crackdown in a way, but I felt like it was executed far better than Crackdown, particularly Crackdown 3. But anyway, I digress. I think like a studio like Monolith or even Rocksteady could easily take that IP and do something really great with it. And like, even if they bought Monolith and Rocksteady without the DC IP, without any of the Lord of the Rings IP or whatever, they could turn some of those Blizzard franchises into great sandbox games. And Activision franchises like Prototype, even stuff like Spyro and Warcraft and Starcraft as well. They're crying out for more spin-offs. Like, it'd be so cool to play like a Warcraft action game that wasn't like related to the MMO, or like a StarCraft shooter or something like that, and I feel like more studios would be able to do something like that. But yeah, like Hussein Jamal says in chat, Prototype is not as famous as Marvel characters. Yeah, that is true. You don't get your sort of Spider-Man fantasy or whatever when you're playing Prototype, but that's the problem with licensed IP. You have to, if you're going to use licensed stuff, you either have to pay a lot of it out to the license holder, which eats into your margins a fair bit, or you have to invest and build up your own IP. And Microsoft's always been about building up its own IP. Like, it doesn't really license franchises to build games off. I'm sure they have done in the past, and obviously they license cars for Forza, but they don't really seem to like to do it. So while I think like, sure, like a Rocksteady making a Prototype game isn't going to get the same outside recognition that Insomniac Spider-Man games get, I think it's like a next best kind of thing, and I think it could be good, But again, that's sort of a far-fetched sort of idea that probably won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, just the list of studios that are interested: Sony, Microsoft, Take-Two, EA, NetEase, Tencent. I don't know about the whole idea of like, oh, we'll sell you the studios, but we keep the IP. Like the idea of like, you can buy, NetherRealm from us. I mean, here's the other thing. Like, do they piecemeal and sell off individual studios, or do they sell off the whole kit and caboodle to somebody? So somebody gets all 7 studios, or how many studios they'll have, or does like, well, we'll take the highest bid on NetherRealm, and then we'll take the highest bid on Monolith. Could that be a reason why, for instance, Wonder Woman doesn't have a platform announced for it yet? Like when they revealed it at the Game Awards, no platforms announced, and me and you speculated that, oh, maybe that's just how normal, video game stuff works. Announcement trailer, maybe sometimes it happens. No platforms announced, or maybe there's something else going on. Maybe they were trying to sell the exclusivity. I mean, like, look at Street Fighter 5 or 6, right? They announced it earlier this year and said you'd find out more details in summer, but no platforms were announced for it. Could it be because behind the scenes they're trying to get exclusivity from somebody, or get a bunch of money from one of the big, first parties? Like, you never know with these sort of things. So, I don't know about the whole idea of them basically holding on to the IPs. Like, I could see something like Xbox basically coming in there and being like, we want the entire thing, and you know what? We'll also take a 20-year exclusive deal on the IPs. So we're the only ones who can make Batman games, and we're the only ones who can make this or make that, right? Because 20 years from now, like, who knows what's going on? You say 20 years from now, the world won't even be here. So what does it matter, right? And I've always said one of the things Game Pass lacks is super broad appeal games that hit like every core demographic, which is something, the Marvel games like Spider-Man hit. Everybody knows Spider-Man, right? Everybody, well, probably to a lesser extent Wonder Woman, but like if you could leverage it and get a Batman game or Justice League game or something, like the sort of impact that could have for your Game Pass business just on eyeballs on it is probably more than any of your current studios that are making anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because of how huge that is. So I guess we'll just have to keep our eyes on this. A lot of people are interested because they make a lot of games and they're good developers, but as we've talked about before, there might be something wrong because Rocksteady, their last game, Batman Arkham Knight, was in 2015. Suicide Squad's 2023. That's 8 years in between development. Gotham Knights for WB Montreal, their last game was 2013. And they're finally coming out with the game in 2022. That's 9 years. The last Lego game took some time too, like the Skywalker Saga. That took quite some time, even though they recently posted that it sold incredibly well, something like 3.2 million or 3.4 million copies in 2 weeks. You mentioned Wonder Woman and Monolith. Their last game was 2017. Presumably Wonder Woman. I can't see Wonder Woman coming next year, so Wonder Woman's probably 2024. That's 7 years, and those are long dev times. Is that because of mismanagement at upper levels? Not necessarily greenlighting games, because there was stories that, hey, Rocksteady went through a canceled a canceled Batman game and a canceled Justice League game or something like that. Like they had some projects canceled or not greenlit before they landed on Suicide Squad. So I guess this, what this is going to mean, Jez? It means just more acquisition talk, because now someone out there who's a journalist who has good sources is basically saying they might be up for sale. So, we're going to get questions about this every week, just like Scalebound. So
yeah, maybe.
This would be a good article for Windows Central Gaming.
It would be.
And maybe a good Rand video, huh?
Yeah, maybe do a video, because you're the dude passionate about Warner Brothers.
I think they're really good. I mean, if you could kind of go in there and maybe clear up some of the, or at least solve some of the issues about why it takes so long for them to make some games, I think they would be a feather in your cap. And, I think they would bring a lot of eyeballs onto Xbox in a way that, Compulsion's not going to do, or even Obsidian's not going to do. You know what I mean? Not saying that Compulsion and Obsidian aren't great studios, but, a Suicide Squad game and a Batman game just are bigger. So, yeah.
I kind of feel like these studios have a lot to prove, though. They've been gone for so damn long. And, Arkham Knight reviewed well, but it didn't have a long tail. Like, people forgot about it pretty quickly. And Shadow of War even more so. Like, people forgot about that game really quickly. And there was a whole controversy about, to get the true ending, you've got to grind. And then they baked it with microtransactions that let you skip the grind. Like, it was controversial. Like, I skipped that crap. I was like, there's no way I'm grinding this crap. And there's no way I'm paying for microtransactions just to get the real ending. So I'll just watch on YouTube. No. And I didn't even do that because I didn't care anymore. But I think like a lot of this boils down to, this is how good the studios were a million years ago. Are they still that good? Are they still worth that kind of money? I mean, the fact that they're trying to sell them off could be taken as not a particularly great sign in its own right. But I don't know.
I mean,
maybe I'm just being negative.
I kind of disagree with that, because if there ever was a time where you're trying to get a return on your investment or the most money for something, it's right now. Like,
Well, yeah,
video
before
game
they released bad games and created
sure.
their value.
I guess there is that, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, look at the value of all these, properties and studios getting sold. Like, if you wanted the most money for something that you have, like, right now is the time to sell, because who knows what the market is going to look like in 5 years. So they may be like, you know what? I mean, I guess it comes down to, what does Warner Brothers Discovery view as the future of their company and their business? Is video games a part of that? And if they decided it's not a part of that, or at least not a significant part of that, where they don't want to invest billions of dollars into it, then you might as well sell. So that's what it really comes down to. The question is, if they are willing to sell, who's going to snap them up? And it's like, God, you can call me an Xbox fan, Xbox fanboy or whatever, but I hope Xbox does, because I love those games. I mean, even if PlayStation got them, I would be like, well, I got a PlayStation 5, so I play it there. But watch it be Tencent or something, Watch Tencent get it.
Probably.
Anyways.
I also think that'd be weird if Tencent got it, because, like, Tencent's all about service games. And these are studios that aren't really known for service games.
I mean, Mortal Kombat is a service game. They sell stuff in the games. I mean,
I guess.
Microsoft does need a fighting game studio. And NetherRealm's the best one out there.
Microsoft should bat for NetherRealm, at least, because they get their fighting game studio, and they could get the IP, and also because they're buying just part of the deal, it could slip under the radar more than trying to buy all of them outright. So, like, that's what I would bat for. I would bat for them acquiring the Mortal Kombat team, the Mortal Kombat IP, hopefully. But if not, then licensing it or whatever. I think that'd be the best outcome. Because I really don't think Rocksteady and Monolith, as good as some of their games have been in the past, I wouldn't drop the money on them. I'd just hire the devs, which is what they've been doing, to be honest. A lot of Rocksteady devs working on Fireball right now. But I think that's if you're not getting the IP with Rocksteady Monolith, I think you just hire those devs instead of buy the studio. But NetherRealm's different. They have a specific subset of expertise, and the Mortal Kombat IP is legendary in its own right. So that's my mentality about it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Just get it all, Phil. Just get it all. License it, 20-year exclusivity. Just get it all. That's Rand's recommendation. Don't worry about Ubisoft. Sega, don't care about Sega. Capcom, Capcom's good. Square Enix, just make sure you get Crystal Dynamics and iOS Montreal. But please, Warner Brothers Discovery is where it's at. Let us know in chat what you think. If Microsoft should seriously go after Warner Brothers Discovery, let us know your thoughts in the chat. Jonas in the super chat says, "Wish me luck. 16-year is driving us. Love the show." Oh, your 16-year-old is driving you right now? Hope you're okay. Dude, I remember the first time I did driver's ed, right? And passed it with flying colors. Like, I was always a great student, right? And I remember the very first time my dad took me to practice driving on my license or whatever, right? The very first time, I didn't know that there's that kind of inertia or whatever, like the car goes and you need to be on the brakes. So I turn the car on and I don't have my foot on the brake.
Oh no.
And the car just kind of starts moving and I freak out and hit the brake and my dad's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I didn't know the car moves." I didn't know that. I don't I remember saying, "Oh, start the car and have your foot on the brake." I just thought it was just one of those things. "Oh, you're supposed to be on the brake." I didn't know the car actually moves if you don't have your foot on the brake. So that kind of freaked me out when I was driving for the first time. Flame the super chat says, "About to finally use XB2. My nose hairs are crazy." All right. Another happy customer of the Manscaped and Xbox 2 promotion. Fatty, member for 11 months, says, "Hi, Jez and Rand. Rand L. Eyes emoji. Question, do you think we'll see anything on Deathloop at the Xbox Bethesda show?"
That's interesting.
You know what? I guess it really depends on the contract stipulations between, like, are they allowed to do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes Sony's exclusivity things are like, you can't mention any of the platforms until, the exclusivity's opened or ended, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
that's true.
I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that when I envision the showcase, there's a part of me that is like, yeah, there's a Deathloop trailer, and it says coming to Xbox and Game Pass on like September 14th, right? And I could easily see that happening, but we just don't know the finer details of the contract. So I think it's a good possibility. I give it a 50-50. I think if the contract allows it, it'll be there.
I reckon when that comes to Xbox, it'll come with some kind of DLC attached to it.
Yeah,
I think I said that last week.
That is a good bet. Two, Madrino says, any Xbox global publishing project in Japan, keep up the good work, guys. I don't know any specific projects. Do you? I mean, we talked about the tweet last week from the guy who's in charge of it, who said there's going to be groundbreaking projects and stuff. So they're definitely trying to. But do you know any specific global publishing games or projects out of Japan, Jez?
I don't know any specifics, but it certainly sounds like there is something being developed. They're hiring producers and business managers. They're ramping up in Japan, like undoubtedly. But I don't know any specifics at the moment. But I'm sure we'll probably find out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Brett says, Rand, there is two, NetherRealm and Rocksteady Games. That's who Brett wants.
Right.
And I did see this today because, I'm an achievement guy, even though I'm kind of retired. That Xbox finally, in the newest update, is going to give you the ability to reveal the secret achievement descriptions, Jez.
Oh, wow.
It's
because they're spoilers previously, I guess.
Well, PlayStation's had that ability since the beginning, but Xbox is finally, they're doing something with achievements. They're letting you reveal the secret achievements description, so that's a step in the right direction. That's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I always hated having to go to a website to look at what the secret achievement was, where it's like, why can't I just look at it here? The Andrew says, Jez, any chance of some Fallout news at the Microsoft Bethesda E3 showcase? 76 doesn't count. Would love to have something new on the Wasteland horizon to look forward to.
Personally, I think not. I think the focus will be I think there'll be a laser focus on Starfield. I mean, there's always an outside chance they'll drop a teaser similarly to what they did with Elder Scrolls. Maybe they'll. That's the absolute most you can hope for. A sort of CGI teaser that's like, yeah, Fallout 5 is something we're gonna make someday, but you'll probably be waiting until 2026 at the earliest. So I think that's absolutely the only thing you could possibly hope for. But even that, I would highly doubt personally. I don't think we'll get any Fallout news, but I could be wrong. I have no information personally about what's going to be at the show at the moment. Just a lot of expectations and hopes, I guess. I mean, I have about the same amount of information as everyone else regarding this right now. So I'm looking forward to being surprised, honestly. But even if I do get information, I'm not gonna leak it because that's spoilers. That's spoilers, Rand.
Yeah, even though you'll leak Project Midnight and Project Typhoon and Project Dragon and all these other things, but you won't leak what's at the show.
Well,
which I understand. I understand.
There's some unwritten rule about that. There's some unwritten rule about leaking shows. I don't know.
I mean, Jeff Grubb will leak the show. He's done it quite often recently. So just ask the Grubb to do it. He'll do it.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, there's. I
just know how I'd feel if I got spoiled.
There's people are talking about the Fallout thing, Jez, because Scalzi, who's a Bethesda content creator, he put out a tweet saying that all the projects that Bethesda's working on, right? And our buddy Special Nick said, "Hey, I'm hearing the similar things." And then Jason Schreier was like, "Most of this list isn't true, but there might be some things that are true." And one of the things on the list, which I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm not sure. And Scalzi deleted his tweet, so I don't remember. One of it was ZeniMax Online Studios is working on a Mando MMO, right? Like
MMO.
the Mandalorian from Star Wars. They're working on a Mandalorian MMO, right? That's their next game. And
That's interesting to think about.
but the other couple one I remember was that there are Elder Scrolls remastered, like what was it? In Exile. In Exile's working on Fallout remasters or something.
In Exile?
Yeah, that's. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but like I'm pretty sure that's like the Fallout, or maybe it was Elder Scrolls. Like In Exile was working on remastering like Fallout 3 or something. But like,
That's
I don't
certainly interesting. I might try and find out if that's a thing or not.
Yeah. Punkadish, who's been a member for 14 months, says Phil's done such an incredible job at turning Xbox back around in the right direction. The 12th of June is about to be lit. Indeed. Wolf Assassin, member for 11 months, says if PlayStation is dead set having Marvel games exclusive to them, why doesn't Microsoft make a deal with Warner Brothers to make Wonder Woman exclusive? You know? There's that thought process.
Well, hang on. I always get confused about this.
Okay.
Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man in movies, right?
Yes, they are the ones who have the rights for the movie version of Spider-Man, yeah.
Well, doesn't that gives them leverage, surely, over the IP for games? Like they can be like, yeah, well, I'm not saying like they get to say outright who gets what, when, and where, but that's got to give them more leverage than Microsoft would have over Wonder Woman, surely. They've got those relationships in place. They own the IP for the movies. No,
maybe
am I crazy for
I
thinking
don't know.
that?
I don't know the finer details of the situation there. So your guess is as good as mine. I think maybe somebody in chat might know, but I think Disney. I think Disney still. You still have to like go to like Disney and get that stuff done because I think the only thing Sony owns is the rights to the movies. I think everything else would be owned by like Marvel, right?
Yeah,
because
wonder if it
for
gives
how
them
long?
leverage.
Because outside of this last Spider-Man game, all the Spider-Man games before it were all multi-platform. They'd be on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. Like there are, tens and 20s of like just on the 360 there was like I can think of off the top of my head like at least 6 Spider-Man games,
Did they own it back then too?
They've owned the Spider-Man movie license for a long time because when Marvel was having some issues with liquidity and like bankruptcy and stuff, they basically sold the movie rights to Sony for like money, and they did that for other franchises as well. Like they sold the X-Men to Fox, which is why like everybody was excited when Disney was buying Fox because that would mean they would get the rights to X-Men and the mutants back from Fox, so the mutants and stuff could be put into the MCU.
Are they in the MCU?
No, they're not, because
Or no?
Well, not yet, because the Fox deal just kind of went through last year. So they are, because in the trailers for the new Doctor Strange movie, Patrick Stewart's Xavier, he's in the trailers, so he's in the movie. But I'm just saying, like, Marvel at certain points needed money, so they sold the licensing rights to the movies to a bunch of different movie studios. Sony got Spider-Man, and like Fox got like X-Men and shit.
I need to ask someone who knows more about that kind of stuff, but I just imagine they'd have more leverage over those kind of IPs.
Maybe.
It's interesting because who was it now? I think it was Jeff Grubb who put out a tweet saying, how much margins do you think you get on a AAA game?
Yes.
And he had like 2%, 15%, 30%, 45% or something like that. And the answer was 15%. So like, imagine if like you've got to pay out a bunch of that margin to a license holder. They're probably going to ask for like a decent amount of percent on top of that.
Well,
at which point it almost becomes like, why even bother?
Well, look how many Star Wars games are in production right now, right? Before, when it was just a deal with EA, there was just a couple, but now there's the Ubisoft Star Wars game. Respawn's making like 2 Star Wars games, I think, or 3.
Yeah, but Rand, you have to remember the Microsoft tax.
What do you mean?
Because Microsoft is a bigger company, when it comes to these kind of deals, they're going to be like, oh, well, EA will be able to pay this much. But Microsoft's got $1 trillion market cap. We can ask them for way more money, even though Microsoft, like, they'd still want it to make good business sense within the Xbox incubation. But
Right.
I feel like they would
my
expect
point was
to
more
get
that
more from Microsoft.
my point was that it seems like Lucas and Disney are willing to really go and license out a lot of different things, so the license can't be that expensive, or at least
I mean, you'd have to hope so.
too cost prohibitive, I guess. Right?
Yeah,
How much?
I would hope
How
so.
much did Rare pay Disney for the ability for Pirates of the Caribbean?
I have no idea.
Right?
No idea. Well, that's a good point, actually, because I wouldn't have expected that from Microsoft.
So,
but that was one instance that just made utter sense.
Sure, Sea of Thieves and Pirates of the Caribbean, because Pirates of the Caribbean is a big franchise. It gets some eyes on Sea of Thieves and some eyes on Game Pass, right?
Yes.
So people would say, wouldn't the same hold true for Star Wars? Wouldn't an exclusive Star Wars game in Game Pass make a lot of sense? Or exclusive, DC game? I mean, those things might go a long way.
And Star Wars is actually one IP that's proven itself repeatedly in the MMO space. Like Star Wars Galaxies back in the day was one of the biggest MMOs. And like World of Warcraft took a huge amount of inspiration from Star Wars Galaxies and still are, frankly. And then you've obviously got the EA Star Wars MMO, which nobody talks about anymore because it's kind of dead. But they literally just released this expansion for that again recently, and it had its 10-year anniversary or something like that. Like that MMO has been going for ages. Like even though it's sort of, it doesn't have the same prestige as World of Warcraft or even Final Fantasy, people still play it because it's Star Wars, and it's actually not terrible. So I think it's really interesting to put that possibility out there, but it's also a bit weird in the sense that it does sort of eat into Star Wars: The Old Republic's audience. But at the same time, I doubt Disney cares about that because I'm pretty sure Star Wars: The Old Republic is never going to grow at this point. And also, it takes place in a different era, so
yeah. The Intern of War in the super chat says Monolith would be fun. Could bring back Fear. I mean, I would love Fear. I'd love for them to bring back that game, that franchise.
Who owns the Fear IP? Is that Warner Brothers? Again?
I think it might be Warner Brothers. Yeah. Alistair8 says, I've been listening to you guys for a long time. Thanks for all the great content. And thank you for your support, man. It means a lot. It means a lot that everybody's here listening on a Friday when you could be doing whatever you want, and you're here with us. So thank you guys so much. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button. We greatly would appreciate that. Ron Richards Jr. Super Chat says, Happy Friday, guys. I need some more Halo BR news. Jez, can you make Ron's day? Do you have any more Halo BR news or any Halo news you're willing to share, I guess?
I'm afraid I have no more information or news about Halo BR at the moment. Always digging, always looking, but the bits that's out there now, that it's going to be sort of PvE, sort of with objectives and stuff like that, that's all that I've got right now. We'll just have to wait and see whether it comes true or doesn't, I guess.
Did you see? So 343 did that stream about season 2 the other day. Did you see that little tease during the
yeah, like the glitchy
stuff?
Yeah,
like the glitchy, AI Luxturna thing that happened during the stream. What do you think that's all about?
Well, one of Suraja's tweets was that they're exploring doing the sort of Halo PvE story events in the multiplayer, which also feeds into Tatanka's sort of format, that it's going to be a sort of, a platform for PvE, but also these kind of events that I suppose Fortnite pioneered in some ways. So that kind of makes sense. And also Halo's marketing team, they're a big fan of ARGs in general. These alternative reality games, which they're sort of like viral marketing campaigns. They did that whole radio show for, what's it called? Halo 5. Do you remember that? It was kind of mixed reception, that did, but they like doing it. And Yeah, I don't know what it means though. I don't have any information yet. I mean, you should know better than me. You're the Halo guy, right?
It could be a tease for the narrative events. It could be like maybe a new AI that's part of season two's rewards, or because they have the AI that you can choose.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and they talked about season two's roadmap, and because some people saw that like, oh, Rand and Jez were too harsh on 343 or whatever, and I didn't think we were harsh on them. I understand the difficulties they're in, but even Joseph Staten says they're not happy with their roadmap for season two. So I said it's
Yeah.
disappointing. What's the opposite of not happy? Disappointed. So yeah.
Yeah, Joseph Staten said his exact words were, "It's painful."
Mm.
He said it's painful to put this roadmap out, and they're not happy with it, and they want to get better with it, which is a good thing. I mean, it shows that they are in tune with the community's expectations surrounding how much content is coming, and the general consensus seems to be that the content isn't coming thick and fast enough.
Yeah.
So.
Phased Dank Dodge says, "Are you more excited for Starfield or Redfall? I'm an Arcane lover, so I'm Redfall all the way." I'm more excited. All right, you answer this question first. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Starfield.
Oh, well, yeah, we know that.
It's been ages since we had a Todd Howard game, and man, I'm just ready. I'm just ready for that Todd Howard experience again, and that sort of format of RPG. And also, I'm just sort of like, I'm actually sort of apprehensive about Redfall, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not really a fan of. I'm not a big fan of the sort of, I don't know how to call it. It's sort of like pop culture-y style the game seems to have. I prefer if it was like more dark and gritty vampires, like Vampire or something. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And also these sort of multiplayer games, I don't really play them because all my friends, like yourself, typically live in different time zones. All my friends in current time zones, they've all got like kids, and
what's wrong with them?
I don't know. They're all being grown-ups and shit, and like it's hard to actually like find time that we can all sit down.
Redfall,
and
you'd be able to play solo, so you could do solo.
Yeah.
But
I'll have to see how good it is solo before I can get super hyped about it. I think is basically what I'm saying.
Just based on the nature, like I love Arcane, so like Redfall is something I'm really interested in. But I am a sci-fi nut, and there's just something about Starfield that appeals to me. So I'm probably more excited for Starfield at this point, but I am going to play both. Which speaking of Starfield, they put out their third sort of video recently. They did two before where it was like Todd talking with some people making the game, and they showed off some concept art. And this video was mainly talking about the music. I mentioned this before, Jez, but have you ever seen Microsoft market a game like this far in advance in this way? Because
no,
I
don't think so. No, it's quite interesting. I think part of it is because Starfield's doing a lot of the heavy lifting this year. And this marketing campaign kind of reminds me of Cyberpunk almost. Like Cyberpunk had a very, very heavy marketing presence where every few weeks there was a fairly significant update about the game, and then in the summer before Cyberpunk came out, they did like those whole like 20-minute long deep dive kind of videos into the game and stuff like that. So that's probably what they're gunning for here. They're gunning for this to be a sort of another like moment in gaming. They want this to have a really long tail. They want people to be playing this for months and years ahead. Kind of like Skyrim. People still play Skyrim. People still play Grand Theft Auto. They still play these kind of games that have they call them they have a long tail, which means like the game comes out and then people keep coming back to them because there's so much to do, and then user generated content like mods and stuff drag the game out even more. And then like as you can see, like people have been playing Skyrim for like tens of thousands of hours a piece, on Steam and stuff like that. So if they do want it to be this sort of platform, and I do expect that we'll see the Bethesda modding store or whatever they call it. What do they call it? The Bethesda Creation Club, I think they call it, where they sell, basically let creators make mods and sell them, similar to the Minecraft store. I'm sure that Starfield will have these kind of features, and considering that the rumors are that it has flyable spaceships, I'm sure there'll be spaceships and stuff that people can buy and mod and trade and stuff like that. Hopefully not NFT spaceships though, but yeah, Starfield warrants this kind of marketing cycle, I think. So this goes beyond Microsoft simply like not having much else to market this year. Starfield's going to be a big deal for gaming in general, I think.
But this is kind of what I want Microsoft to do for almost all their games. And I think, when they did the Bethesda Xbox Roundtable and they talked about what they can learn from each other, I feel like this is all Bethesda-led, right? Because it would have been Bethesda's big game, and it's a new IP from Todd Howard. Like, you are going to lean in heavily in the marketing for that game. And I sort of feel like this is something Xbox can learn from Bethesda and how to do, like, long-term marketing for a very hot property. You know what I mean? And maybe we even see some of that with, like, Hellblade, because, like, they've done multiple trailers for Hellblade. They, there's been, like, kind of videos for it talking about, like, their process of how they went to, like, Iceland and film stuff. So maybe it's the beginning of Xbox becoming more Bethesda-like in their approach, because when you have a game as big as Halo, there's no reason you shouldn't be marketing Halo, like, year-round. And they didn't. Now, that may be because they knew the state Halo was in and they couldn't. But when you have this big of a game like Starfield, like, yeah, you should be doing stuff like this to get people hyped. And I think people would be more hyped if there was actual gameplay out there for people to watch. But it's interesting to see the hype behind Starfield when nobody really knows what that game is. So I think that's maybe something that Xbox can, do for your Avoweds, right? Or your Perfect Darks in the future, or your Fables. Like, there should be multiple videos about Fable leading up to launch instead of just, here's a Fable gameplay trailer at E3 and the game's launch. Like, you could do, like, a retrospective of the franchise and, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's different in this Fable versus, like, there's so many different ways you could do things for any one of these franchises or games that I feel like it's always a missed opportunity with Xbox in this manner. And I've always said that I felt Xbox is good at marketing the brand and marketing the consoles, but they're not as good at marketing the individual games, right? They're like,
I agree with that.
They're great at marketing Game Pass, but, like, they're not good at marketing the games within Game Pass. It's kind of like I feel like it's always been like that. So maybe Bethesda helps them, or maybe Activision, when they come in, can share ideas and they can become better at marketing the individual games themselves. Anyways, Hargeet Chaney, what's up, buddy? He says in the super chat, been saying it for a while. Microsoft should buy Warner Discovery along with the game studios. Make a sub-bundle with Game Pass, Discovery, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Netflix Plus, and others. Would be crazy good.
How much did they pay for Discovery?
I think it was Disney. Like $48 billion, I believe it was the price.
So, so you're telling me Batman is worth less than Activision Blizzard game? Oh, man. It's crazy to think, like, how much money is in and how much potential Microsoft thinks that is in Activision. It's kind of crazy. Like, Activision has quite honestly barely unlocked its potential with its IP. They're only just now starting to explore what Warcraft can be on mobile and what, some of their other games can be like as a sort of expanded universe kind of thing. So, I don't know.
We've had this discussion before, and I've seen it brought up where people are like, just buy Warner Brothers Discovery and get into the HBO Max business, right?
I would actually, I don't think they should buy Monolith and Rocksteady personally without the IP, but I would be behind them buying all of Discovery and HBO, Warner Brothers. because that's kind of like increasingly the missing piece of the entertainment puzzle. And it's really funny because everyone attacked Xbox for doing the TV thing back in the day, but increasingly it looks like they were right. Increasingly, it looks like that was the right play to make. Increasingly, like it looks like people are going to want transmedia, and the next step for gaming is to get that sort of transmedia experience where you can celebrate your fandom across multiple formats, I guess, whether it's mobile or whether it's TV or whether it's movies or whatever. I don't know. But it's at the same time, it's really hard to execute well, as we've seen. The Warcraft movie was not very well received.
I mean, look
even though I enjoyed it myself.
Look what's going on with Netflix right now. They have one bad quarter, and the bottom falls out of Netflix. They're firing people.
Crazy shit, man.
Employees are going crazy, and it's just like, oh, is the bottom falling out of Netflix? Like, is this the time you want to get into HBO Max? Like, is that a future you want to be your business in? But if you're doing metaverse stuff and you own Batman and DC, that'd be big for metaverse content, wouldn't it? Right?
It would.
Typically. So I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on Microsoft's what they see the future as. Money is not really an object, right? Not clearly, not after you just spent 70 bills on Activision. So
yeah, and they've still got about 100 billion in liquid cash left.
I think I read somewhere where they said since the Activision announcement, they've made like $40 billion in profit or something like that. So it's like, what by the time that deal's cleared or whatever, they've made all that money anyways.
Yeah.
So, and with inflation, Jeff Grubb's talked about this before, and that's part of one of the reasons why people are buying now, because of inflation. So your money's worth less. So invest the money and get you some studios that will make you some games to make you money, right? Instead of having it sit in the bank doing nothing, losing value. Eddie the Psycho has been a member for 20 months, says NetherRealm and a new Killer Instinct is greater than all of Ubisoft. And there's some Ubisoft fans in chat who don't like that, though. There definitely are some Ubisoft. And I was a big Ubisoft fan years ago. So
I think NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat is worth more than all of Ubisoft. I completely agree with that. Especially Splinter Cell, which should only be a mobile game.
Hey, we got a new Splinter Cell coming back. It's a remake, though, so I'm perfectly fine with that. Tai Kesseris says, I generally think that they will get Take-Two Interactive before Warner Brothers games because of Grand Theft Auto, let alone the NBA franchise and all other franchises. Great content, guys. And, you take two. You get BioShock, you get Grand Theft Auto is obviously the crown jewel. 2K is a big franchise, which they just added to Game Pass out of nowhere. Did you see that, Jez? I know you probably don't care about basketball, but...
No, I don't, but I know a lot of people are into that kind of stuff, so I'm happy for people who, were looking forward to that. And it just goes to show, like, the diversity and the value being pumped into Game Pass right now.
Well, yeah, and it's also the start of the playoffs, so a lot of people are going to be watching and potentially, hey, it's in Game Pass, I'm going to play some 2K, and, they have a lot of microtransactions in that game, so... kind of works. Tito says, what would be your wildcard prediction for the June show? Kojima, Killer Instinct 2, Fallout, New Vegas 2, or maybe Scalebound. There we go. The Scalebound thing. All right, so give us a wildcard prediction, Jez. Kojima, Killer Instinct 2, Fallout New Vegas 2, or Scalebound. What's your wildcard?
I think a Fallout tease, not necessarily New Vegas 2.
Okay.
A Fallout tease is the one wild card I would at least like to see.
Like,
what about you, Ray?
They like at the end of the show, it feels like we got one more thing, and it's like a 30-second tease for Fallout 5.
Yeah, like the piano music kicks in, and the Fallout theme on a black screen, and then it sort of fades in to a destroyed London. That'd be.
How about a destroyed Chicago? Like you see the Sears Tower or whatever the hell they're calling it now, right? It's destroyed Sears Tower, destroyed Comiskey Park or whatever the hell they're calling that now, destroyed Wrigley Field. You know,
Do you know what then? You don't know what they're called?
I don't. It's Sears Tower to me. Like I don't know what they're calling it now. I think Comiskey Park.
The buildings have sponsorships in America.
Yeah, some of them. Like for most of my life, it was the Sears Tower, and then like I think they changed the name, but like I'm not gonna say whatever because it's always going to be the Sears Tower to me. It's the Sears Tower to anybody in Chicago. And
what
like
is Sears exactly? Is it a clothes shop?
Sears was like a retailer or whatever. But you know, Comiskey Park it's always Comiskey Park to me, the White Sox Stadium, even though it's been renamed over the years multiple times, like U.S. Cellular Field or what. I don't know what it is now. Maybe it's like Credit Card Max Field or something. And Wrigley Field's still Wrigley Field. But like
Manscaped Stadium.
But yeah, like you pan over and you see a destroyed Chicago, and it's like, and you have Ron Perlman say, "War never changes." Boom, title screen, Fallout 5. Book
Man,
it.
I can dude. I literally just got goosebumps imagining that. What is wrong with me? Oh man, I need a new Fallout in my life so bad. Got goosebumps imagining a trailer that doesn't exist.
That's how it would go too. That's all you need. Just a destroyed landscape and Ron Perlman saying war never changes.
Yeah.
People would go nuts. Wild card. Like, well, you know, if that Mando game is real, ending the show or just having in the show of a Mandalorian game from an Xbox studio would definitely be that would be hype, right?
That would be hype.
Kojima definitely is a wild card, but I mean, I guess like Kojima, you could just do like a title card reveal. Like, you don't even need to show anything. It's just like Kojima's making an Xbox exclusive or whatever.
Just the word.
Yeah.
Kojima.
Just the word.
Nothing else.
Yeah. Just the word Kojima, and then Kojima X Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, so they're gonna get like a partnership.
That'd be like the ultimate sort of a Kojima style obscure marketing reveal.
Yeah. Interesting though. Okay. Gunstar. He goes, I couldn't listen live. I'll listen to your dual set tones to send me to sleep later. Well, yours, Rand. Jez sounds like he should be stealing meat from a van. Or selling meat from a van.
Yeah, that's the Midlands accent for you.
ZFG Gaming says, smash that like peeps. Happy Friday, Rand and Jez in chat. That's right. If you guys are enjoying the show, don't forget to hit that like button. Will Smith that like button. It's free. Helps out. Thank you, guys. Chris R says, Jez sneezes us. He knows. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
You sneeze, that means you know, Jez. My buddy Everborn Saga says, Sega is greater than Warner Brothers and Activision Blizzard. No, sir. No, sir. If there's one publisher I would not care from Xbox to get, it's definitely Sega. Like, they're on the bottom of the pile. And get all the other ones first. Get even Ubisoft ahead of Sega.
Oh, come on. Ubisoft before Sega?
Yeah.
You don't want like...
What does Sega got that's so good? What does Sega have that's worth anything? Nobody cares about
man.
Sonic. Sonic is only good.
Dude, Sonic, the movie's huge. What are you talking about?
That's the movie. Nobody cares about Sonic's games anymore.
Yeah, but Microsoft could fix that.
Oh, could they? Could they?
I believe. I believe Microsoft could fix Sonic.
Okay.
Just make it. All you need to do is make it side-scrolling again. No one wants to play 3D Sonic. No one. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. 3D Sonic shouldn't exist.
What else does Sega got that's even worthwhile, huh?
Persona, right?
Persona.
They own Persona. Oh, that's another rumor that we should discuss this week.
Oh, okay. What do you want to talk about? Persona? Okay. What about it?
Well, did we have that on the list?
No.
There was some rumor that. Okay, I remember from Reset Era. I'm gonna actually pull it up on Twitter.
Okay.
Since we're talking about it, someone. Oh man, can I find this tweet now? Oh man, it's gonna be hard to find this tweet.
Well, while you find the tweet, I'll read a couple more super chats. We got one from Andrew, who says Monolith owned a bunch of old unused IP. Also NOLF, which I'm not sure what that is. Let's see what else we got here. And by the way, I'm just kidding about Sega. I only say that because I know Everborn loves Sega, and it's a joke between me and him about how Sega's got nothing. So don't get your panties in a bunch about it. You find that tweet? You find that? You sent it to me. Just look at the DMs.
I found it.
Okay.
So, okay, this a nice chap called Jaber sent me a DM, pointing me to a thread on Reset Era, where a chap called Lolly Lola Elo, he said on Reset Era that he'd heard that Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden will both come to Xbox One and Xbox Series X versions, Windows 10 and Steam. And I don't know, but it opens the possibility of a Game Pass announcement. And he said that back in early March. I think a lot of people missed this, but it became interesting because he also said, this guy provides information in a sort of anonymous leaking capacity. He also said this week, or last week, from what I've heard, Warcraft Mobile is going to be 2 games, one being more casual oriented, augmented reality thingy. So that's the Pokemon Go game that I believe is actually cancelled. And the other one, which I think is one we'll see in May, is not so casual, but it's far from being a real Warcraft WoW like Diablo Immortal is. It's going to be more like Clash Royale. I don't know. I don't actually play mobile games. Now, that's when the thing that he said about Persona 4 became interesting to me, because that part of his information was accurate. I know that for a fact. Microsoft is making some kind of... They were making a Pokemon Go mobile game, but that got cancelled, and that they are making a Clash Royale mobile game, which is going to be announced fairly soon. And so, if this chap does have correct information, he's not just sort of repeating something that he heard somewhere else, that lends some credibility to the idea that we could see, finally, Persona hit Xbox as part of the Persona celebration, which I believe is pretty soon. Isn't it tomorrow, even?
Is it tomorrow? I don't know.
Hang on, let me check that. Persona celebration anniversary. So there's some kind of Persona anniversary. So Persona 25th anniversary. I don't know. Something like that. When is that? This September, Persona series will celebrate its 25th anniversary. So that's in September.
September?
Yeah, but aren't they doing some kind of announcement soon? Or am I going crazy? Yeah, so September seems like a far off thing, but it does sound like they're gearing up to make some announcements this year. And if they are doing some Persona announcements, that'd be the perfect time to reveal Xbox. But if they are working on it, maybe that's something you announce on the Xbox stage, right?
They announced like Persona 4 Golden coming to Xbox Game Pass or something.
Yeah, because that's like the that's the sort of thing people have been bugging Phil about for ages. Even like on stage live, someone was like Persona, and then Phil said, "I hear you." So that'd be a pretty big win. And this chap does seem to have correct information. I'm not super familiar with his track record, but I just thought that was interesting. And since you mentioned Sega not having any games,
which I was joking, there's some people in the chat that are really mad. Someone's like, Rand continues to have bad takes and stuff. Like,
you do have some bad takes.
No, I mean, my takes are the best. What are you talking about?
You like Battle Royale, for one thing.
Which, by the way, I played a new Battle Royale this week, Vampire Blood Hunt on the PlayStation 5.
Oh, how was that? That's getting some hype.
It's actually fun. It was quite fun. It's a free-to-play game, but not on Xbox for whatever reason. Weird. Console exclusive to PlayStation.
That's strange.
Fun times. And then, a dealer basically bullied me into buying NBA 2K22 when it was on sale for $25, and then like the next week it comes to Game Pass. So it's like, dealer, you owe me $25, please. If you're listening, which I know you're not, but still, you owe me $25.
That's the downside of Game Pass. It's like you buy a game, and then like the next week you get to ask for Game
right? Pass. So I missed some earlier super chats. So Dead Planet said thoughts on some of Jaffe's Xbox critiques. I don't know any of Jaffe's Xbox critiques. I obviously don't have any thoughts on him because I don't know what his critiques are. Keyshawn Thompson says hi.
Yeah, I don't know those either.
Hi, how's it going, Keyshawn? How's it going, everybody in chat? We have over 1,200 people watching. So do us a favor, like the show if you're enjoying it, and yeah, thank you for being here. Let's see what else we got here. Morgan Mason says, "You want a wild card? Compulsion Games' next project revealed as Phantom Dust."
That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
But that's a very wild card since I actually know what they're working on.
yeah, that's true. Dub says, "Stoked to have 2 shows in a week. Thanks, guys. Quick question: does Xbox have any support studios that they own, or do they purely rely on contractors?"
Right now, they purely rely on contractors. A lot of people say that Roundhouse Studios has been operating in a support capacity, but there are those rumors that Roundhouse is working on some kind of game of their own as well. So don't know, but I do think Microsoft probably will look to get some support studios eventually. Certain Affinities, obviously the one you have to assume they're looking at getting, because they're basically, supporting Halo when it desperately needs support right now. And then there's also well, I suppose Splash Damage is owned by Tencent now, right? Or NetEase. I can't remember which. But yeah, I think they'll get support studios eventually. I mean, they're going to get a bunch with Activision Blizzard. Like Raven is sort of a support studio. I mean, they make their own Call of Duty games, but they also support the others, right?
No, Raven is the studio that's like 100% behind Warzone.
Oh right, yeah, okay, but they do contribute to the other games, right? I've seen that logo.
I mean, possibly, but they're
or at least
like,
they used to before Warzone.
Well, yeah, but they're the ones who are in charge of Warzone. So
fair enough.
Yeah. What else we got here? Flame says Yakuza Rand Like a Dragon is the best JRPG ever. See, I make people mad about my Sega take.
Yeah, Yakuza as well.
Yeah.
Randall bad takes.
I know,
Damn.
just Randall bad take. Fatty says, what do you think starts and ends the show? Okay, Jez, start and end the show.
I suppose that depends if they've got something even bigger than Starfield to show. I would expect Starfield ends the show, and then maybe, I don't know, but if they've got something even bigger than Starfield, potentially they could show off. Like, I don't know.
What's bigger than Starfield?
Fallout.
Ooh,
Elder Scrolls.
You really like this idea of ending the show with Fallout 5, huh?
Dude, the sheer idea of it gave me goosebumps. Of course, I like the idea, but
even though it wouldn't be coming until 2030
until
30
until after the real life apocalypse. Yeah, I suppose that would be a problem, but I don't care. I just like to see it at the show, even if I know that we're all gonna die before we can play it. Well, that went dark, but I don't know.
Starfield can open the show or it could close it. Hell, it could be in the middle. You could put it. You could put it wherever, right?
It's gonna be the thing people talk about the most. And they literally put it right up there in the banner for the show.
Yeah,
it's like an Xbox logo behind it.
I guess I remember, did Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 end the Bethesda shows with those demos?
I want to say yes. I want to say Fallout 3 ended the show, I'm pretty sure. If I remember right. Unless I'm going mad. I just remember the demo. I just remember Todd Howard showing it off and being like, you can play in first person or third person. I was like, oh my god, this looks so good. Oh man. But seeing that demo was just the hypest thing. I think that might be my favorite E3 moment. I don't think I've ever been that hyped for a game. Ever. Except Fallout 3. Mind blowing. But man, Todd Howard. New Todd Howard game. 2022. Yeah. Finally got there. Almost. As long as there's no apocalypse.
Kendrick Star says, Jez, stop the Ubisoft slander. Ubisoft set the foundation for all first and third person open world games. Zelda, Elden Ring, and everybody else copies Ubisoft.
Zelda?
Well, Breath of the Wild, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know about that, man. Zelda, like, kind of existed before Ubisoft, but fair. That's fair. It's fair enough. I mean, they've done some great stuff, and they pioneered the open world formula. That a lot of developers have tried to emulate over the years. But it's kind of like, what have you done for me lately, Ubisoft? You've just sort of rehashed all of your games, microtransactions all over the
Don't get Jez
place.
started. I knew this was gonna end in a thing where you talk about your problems with Ubisoft, but I'm just saying, Kendrick is like, yo, stop that slander, man. Like that is Kendrick's studio, so he just wants you to just be cool, man. Why do you gotta talk smack about Ubisoft like that? You know?
Man, I just want them to do better. I know they're capable of it. Like the Skull and Bones Twitter account spawned into action after like 4 years of silence this week. I know that Ubisoft's capable of it, and I don't blame the devs. I blame the management layer that is sort of like, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to want to put anything creative out there. I have no idea why I like this. What can you do?
Ellen Just Returns says, do you think Microsoft and Sony will butt heads over whether a 2-hour game trial has to happen for COD, or will Microsoft just give that to Sony? Yeah, so let's talk about that, Jez. Sony's been in the news for a couple things, not necessarily the greatest response. So specifically, this super chat refers to this report that came out that said that Sony is part of their like ultimate tier, you know, where they said they're going to be game trials, that they were going to require, if your game is basically $34, which is like $50, like I think it was like $34 like bulk or so, but basically like if your game is more expensive than, you know, a certain price point, then you are required to basically have a 2-hour game trial. And that didn't go over well with a lot of people. And because they're like, man, you're going to let, you know, devs, that's a lot of extra work. But then I guess it came out that Sony's store team will be doing the trials for the games, and that the devs themselves don't have to do it. And it came out that I don't think even Sony has even talked about this topic to third-party publishers yet, or their partners, sort of like leaked. So
yeah, bet that created a headache for them.
What do you think about this automatic or mandatory 2-hour game trial, Jez? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, a lot of people compare it to Steam's refund policy. So like Steam, because Steam has a 2-hour refund window for its games, that effectively lets you trial a game for 2 hours and then you can refund it. This has been heavily criticized by some devs who are like, people have used it to like rip the game files or hack the game, or they've used it to just, you know, complete games using glitches and then just refunding it and stuff like that, or uploading the footage to YouTube and stuff like that. So it has been pretty heavily criticized by devs, or some devs at least. But at the same time, it's pretty, you know, pro-consumer to have a refund policy that's pretty generous like that, you know? So it's hard to really sort of, I see with regards to Steam at least, I can see both sides of the argument. But for Sony, they're putting this behind a paywall, which is, you know, a stretch. And you say that Sony's store team is going to handle the creation of the demos.
That's what the report says, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting proposition too, because, I don't know, some games play better with 2-hour demos than others. I think for some games, and a dev friend of mine was complaining about this to me, and they were saying basically like, for some games a 2-hour trial is a disaster, because some games, like, they don't really get going in the first 2 hours because they're designed that way. Like I remember like Dragon Quest, for example, on Xbox. I can't remember which number it was. Is it Dragon Quest 9 that's on Xbox, or 10 or something like that, or 11? I don't know. But the Dragon Quest 8 Game Pass, like, man, that didn't really get going for at least 4 or 5 hours. So like, if I was playing the game with the mentality of, I'm just going to check it out for 2 hours and see if it's worth it, like, I might just drop the game and never play it again, you know? So I don't know, rather than like checking it out via a review or something where the reviewer might say, yeah, it's pretty boring the first couple of hours, but man, it gets really, really good in the 3rd, 4th, 5th hour. And I certainly felt that was true of Dragon Quest
11, Jez.
Dragon Quest 11, right?
Yes.
Well, I've certainly felt that was true of Dragon Quest 11, that it really picked up after the first few hours. I mean, at the same time, I completely appreciate people who'd be like, man, I don't want to have to play for a few hours before a game gets good. But that's a kind of a trope with JRPGs. They can be a slow burn. But anyway, I digress. The point being is Sony wants to basically leverage third-party devs for content, which I don't know, it doesn't really sit that well with me, because what are Sony exactly providing to devs for this service? Potentially, this isn't going to help them, for some games. And the fact that it's a blanket mandatory policy just personally doesn't sit that well with me. But at the same time, it's also kind of like, well, maybe it'll be a good thing overall. And if you are a subscriber, obviously it's going to be a good thing for the subscriber. But, I don't know. It's not. I also don't think it's a super compelling reason to buy into that tier if it was me. I mean, what do you think, ultimately?
I think it's absurd to pay for game trials. I think this is just Sony trying to get as much free content from developers for their ultimate tier as they possibly can without actually having to like pay for anything, right? They're just basically saying you need to do this because their tier, their ultimate tier is already basically what? It's just play old games, which I thought nobody really wanted to do anymore. Was play old games, right? PS1, PS2, PS3, PSP games, and then but if there is this thing where all games over a certain price point you have a 2-hour trial, then some people might see that as a value if you're already subscribing to the tier to play older games, right? So I think Sony's looking at this as just free content for their tier, and I'm not a fan of that because it's like we already went through the 360 gen when Microsoft required all XBLA developers to do a demo for their game. Like every game needed a demo, and the devs really didn't like that. And as you can tell, we don't really get a lot of demos or game trials now, period, because there's like kind of mixed sort of it helps some games, but then it hurts others' games, right? So most developers and most publishers aren't going to put out a demo of their game. And here you have Sony basically using their strength to force developers to make free content for them and then put it in their highest tier. I think it's absurd. Especially if I was a publisher, like, EA or whatever, or Ubisoft, I would be like, the hell we are. The hell, like, we're letting you do demos of our games without getting compensated in some way because you're making money off of it, right? It'd be one thing if, like, Sony was like, okay, it's mandatory for every game to have a trial, period, and it's available to literally everybody on PlayStation 5. But it's strictly to people paying $18 a month, so Sony's going to be making money on that. Are they going to be sharing the money with any of those developers? Like, are they going to look and say, well, Grand Theft Auto 6 had the most activated game trials, so we're going to give you a portion of this revenue that we made because we did this because we're the platform, right? Because that's what Sony's basically doing, or at least trying to do, is make money off of the developer's work by monetizing their user base, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of people a lot of developers will push against it. I mean, hell, doesn't EA Play, don't they, or isn't that one of the perks of EA Play, the 10-hour demo? 10-hour game trial?
Yeah, it is.
So what does EA exempt from this? Or like, are EA games going to be part of this $18 tier? But like, you could, it's odd, right? So I don't know. I expect there to be a lot of pushback, and if it came to Xbox, and like if Xbox was in charge of Call of Duty, and this passed or whatever, and nobody could really, if they were required, I guess if required to be on PlayStation, then they would require it. But like I don't know. To me, I think it's absurd. It's funny to see some people being like, "This is insane value." Oh my god! But it's just like, yo, you're paying for game trials. Like, what do you mean? What's insane about that? What value is there in that? The only one making money out of it is Sony. I don't know. I'm not a fan. And then the other thing that happened, which, Jez, I'm sure you saw about it, was the whole stacking issue currently going on right now with PlayStation, right?
What's that exactly?
So Sony is preventing anybody who subscribed to PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now from stacking extra time.
All right.
So they don't roll over and get the extra time for the new service. Whereas Xbox, when Xbox revealed Game Pass Ultimate in 2019, I made a video about this. I showed people how to take their Xbox Live Gold time that they had left, and I said, listen, guys, this is what you need to do. You need to buy 3 months of Xbox Live Gold, or not 3 months. You need to buy 3 years of Xbox Live Gold, or however much you need, because you can only stack up to 3 years, right? And if you do this, you can transfer it, or essentially, make it so you have Game Pass Ultimate. And it will transfer your 3 years that you have Xbox Live Gold to 3 years of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and you save a lot of money. I made a video about that. A lot of people saw it. That quote unquote exploit that people are now suddenly saying stacking is an exploit for a thing that's been around forever is now suddenly an exploit. Like what? This exploit that's been around forever still exists. You can still get this, if you haven't transitioned to Game Pass Ultimate and you're still on Xbox Live Gold, you can still basically do the $1 transition. But Sony is like, wait a minute, we got this new service coming out. People can essentially, if you had already stacked, you're fine. Like if you had stacked multiple years of PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now or whatever, that's fine. But now they're stopping it because Sony doesn't want you to do it because it's an exploit. When in reality, it's just penny pinching by Sony. Because I said this on the podcast last night. Xbox is all about user acquisition for Game Pass. It's a brand new service, right? They want everybody to move away from Xbox Live Gold to get the Game Pass. It's kind of like not the most important thing, but one of the most important things on Xbox. It's like, we need subscribers for Game Pass. So Microsoft was more than fine letting people do this quote-unquote exploit to get people into the service, lock them in there for years, right? PlayStation, on the other hand, isn't really creating a new service. They're just creating new tiers of a service. So they're not starting over from zero. They're already going to have like 48 million PlayStation Essential customers, and then however many actually move up, right? So they're not actually in user acquisition mode. They're actually just trying to get more money from their subscribers. Like they want to take their subscribers who are already subscribed to PlayStation Plus and get them to pay more money, for the PlayStation Essentials tier. So they're penny pinching. They don't want people to lock themselves into multiple years of the subscription to save money. At least that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't really think it's a good look, because as a company, why wouldn't you want to lock somebody into your ecosystem for 3-4 years? Even if they saved a whole bit of money. But isn't that the whole point of you spending the money and basically saying, here's the money up front for the next 4 years? Like, most companies give discounts when you buy something, a year in advance. And here are a lot of people being like, I'll give you all this money. I will be locked in for 4 years. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to take that? But they don't, and I think they'll probably let the stacking go. Like once, they'll lift the restriction on it once the new service launches. But I think it's just penny pinching measures. They're just trying to get as much money out of their users as possible, and they don't want people to use the exploit right now. They want people to wait.
Well, I think there's probably a reason for this penny pinching, because I'm seeing it across the industry. A lot of companies, all companies, are tightening their belts right now. Like whether it's video game companies or even like food companies. I noticed that like the amount of like chocolate you get in these chocolate bars in the UK, they've like in Germany, sorry, there's like an inch missing. Like they're penny pinching on everything, and it's because like there's a lot of economic turmoil right now. Supply chains are in chaos. in China and obviously Eastern Europe right now for obvious reasons. China's got a new load of COVID lockdowns, which is affecting like supplies of stuff, which has a knock-on effect over everything. And then you've got like rampant inflation from all the stimulus that Europe and the America and like all the major economies were printing money left, right, and center to keep the economy going during the lockdown in 2020 and 2021, which had created a massive influx of inflation. So for companies that are sort of more exposed to this turmoil, they are going to be penny pinching for the next couple of years, I think. So like, while it might seem super greedy, I think a lot of companies are just doing it. I just think that's the way things are going right now because of the way the economy is. Because a lot of people with the lockdowns lifting and stuff, people are also playing less games. So it's gonna be a bad look on a lot of shareholder sheets or whatever, or monthly, quarterly reports that things are looking down. Like monthly active users are going to be down across the board. I'm sure like we'll see it too in Windows Central, and I know that some of the big streaming sites are seeing it too. Like people are going outside, and also it's the summer, and Netflix has lost users as well, partially because of the war, and they've pulled out of Russia and Eastern Europe, Belarus, I think, but also because the lockdowns are lifting and people are just watching less TV. They're actually going back outside and touching grass, so, um, that's, I really do think that's part of it. I don't just think Sony's being greedy, although you could argue that they earn enough money. But the problem is that they're not that companies don't think of it in that way. They think of it in like, I need to compete with this other company, and if this other company's penny pinching and cutting corners, then we need to penny pinch and cut corners. Otherwise, they're out competing us. So while like it's easy to like attack Sony for this, they are a business at the end of the day, and I think that's what it boils down to a lot with a lot.
Oh, of course, they can do whatever they like. It's just that the idea that you've been able to stack things for years and suddenly now it's not okay is just it's just come on. We know what this is about. We know what it's really about. You've been letting people do it since the PS4, but suddenly now, and nobody really calls it an exploit, but now it's an exploit. Okay, whatever. We know what it's all about. Gamer by Choice has been a member for a staggering 29 months. Says Sony may want to raise the price of the service in 2 or 3 years, and customers locking lower prices probably hurts. Great show. I don't really see them raising the prices that soon. 2 to 3 years. Game Pass has been the same price for 5 years now. Although they added, Ultimate, which was an extra $5. And the more I think about Game Pass, Jez, you are right. I do think Microsoft needs a $5 tier.
Yeah,
I do think they need a cloud gaming only tier for $5.
I do.
Especially, we'll talk about this in a few, but the Xbox financials, 10 million people are playing, cloud gaming. I just find it odd. It's like, okay, you have $10 tier for Xbox PC, Game Pass on PC, $10 tier for Game Pass on console, a $15 tier that combines both of those, but then also adds cloud streaming. It almost, to me, it's like, well, shouldn't cloud streaming be a tier by itself then? Shouldn't like cloud streaming, like Game Pass, if you just wanted to stream only, like that should be $5. So for $5, you should be able to get Game Pass, but streaming only. Because then you'd have that $5 tier and those two $10 tiers combined to make that $15 tier with gold. And then, a $30 tier for basically like family plan, right? For Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. I think there should be a streaming only tier.
I think there's a huge amount of potential for extra tiers on Game Pass. Like, I can't remember who it was now, but someone tweeted at me recently. And if you remember that this was you, please reach out, because I'm probably going to write an article and I want to credit you for your idea. But it was basically that they should they should do an expansion pass tier as well. And I was thinking like that I would totally pay for like an extra $5, because one of the things that people keep saying to me is like they should put Warcraft. They should put Warcraft into Xbox Game Pass, like the subscription for Warcraft. That's problematic because Warcraft is its subscription. Like the whole business model is specifically people paying that separate subscription just for World of Warcraft. That's the whole business model for WoW, and it pays for the content and it pays for, you know, the way it is. Like, it doesn't really have any microtransactions. Like, there are a couple, but like mostly they're just cosmetic. It's like nowhere near as microtransaction heavy as most games like this. It's a relic of its time in a way, and I think I wouldn't want it to change to a free to play model, or like even relax the subscription, because I honestly think it'll mean less quality content for the game. That said, they could like have a expansion pass tier for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate in the future, which gives you things like World of Warcraft, and it gives you like Elder Scrolls Premium, and it gives you Fallout 76, whatever it's called, I can't remember. And maybe it even gives you like, I don't know, 10 loot crates for Overwatch a month, or 10 card packs for Hearthstone a month. Like, there's a lot of ways they could add value to an expansion pass as well, if they can, like, you know, do the legwork to line up all those APIs, because it would be complicated to implement, I guess. But there's a load of potential. I think I would totally pay for an expansion pass that had like monthly packs for Hearthstone or something like that. I'm really addicted to Hearthstone at the moment, by the way around. Did I tell you this?
I know you told me. You told me.
Yeah, it's a good game. You should play it.
You know, the bots, you know, the little sexy bots that were showing up before we made our stream subscriber only, right?
Yeah.
To stop that, they're posted in chat, so they actually subscribe to the channel. Like,
man, so like they've changed the bots to make them subscribe. Well, at least they're giving some value now.
Well, yeah. So like they'd always would show up, and then Jez was like, you know, you can make the stream subscriber only, which would get rid of that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's make it subscriber only. So you got to be subscribed for 10 minutes to actually chat, right? And I was like, well, these bots are never going to subscribe. But I was wrong, because they did subscribe, and they waited for 10 minutes before posting.
Part of me wonders if it's even a bot, or if it's just someone, like some sort of weird, like, spam farm in some country miles and miles away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Fadi says Elon Musk should buy Ubisoft. I don't think we need Elon to buy anything more.
SpaceX simulator, that'd be pretty cool. Dude, they should add like a SpaceX patch to Flight Simulator. That'd be really cool, actually. Like, you could like try to, you know, do all the science behind launching a rocket, and if you fuck it up, you just explode. And it'd be pretty grim. Although they're robotic rockets, so it's not a big deal if they explode, I guess.
We have Everborn Saga. Once again, with the super chat, says, I say Microsoft should buy Ubisoft, if only to utilize all their in-house support studios. And they do got a lot of support studios, Jez. They have 42 studios. That's a lot.
That'd be expensive for support studios that you can just hire, though, I think.
Hargeet Channy, once again with super chat, says, PlayStation seems to make bad decisions all the time now. Feels like Xbox leading into the Xbox One gen before Phil. Will be interesting to see how the gen goes. Interesting.
It does seem like the majority of Sony headlines lately have been to do with controversy.
Controversy. I knew it. Controversy?
Man, what? I can't even remember how I say it anymore. I say controversy, right?
Yeah, you say it like how it should be said. Not how, you know. You used to say controversy, and I made fun of you. So
controversy. I can't even remember what the correct British way of saying it is now. That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
Sony has their
human I talk to.
Sony has their share of negative headlines. Xbox has had their share of negative headlines this year. I mean, State of Decay, an Undead Labs article at Kotaku, the whole stuff with the initiative. There was a couple negative articles, but yeah. It seems they're on the side of more negative than positive these days. Tai says, do you think Microsoft will make a massive first-person game that's like Overwatch with all their IP, or a fighting game with all their IP, or even possibly something like League of Legends, but first-person style? So essentially, you know...
like a IP celebratory sort of game. I would love to see them do that, but I've actually spoken to someone at Microsoft about this. And often when there's conversations internally about this, they kind of feel like they want to get the brand to where it needs to be in terms of global positivity before they start doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think they want to feel like they've earned the right to make that kind of game, I think. And like for me, I think they've earned it personally. But I kind of see where they're coming from, that, there's still like a lot of negativity out there that about Xbox that they probably want to cut through first before they make a game that feels celebratory in nature. That said, I do think like if they do Killer Instinct 2, there obviously will be guest characters, which will sort of be sort of an experiment leading into sort of the idea of doing a sort of celebratory IP kind of game. Personally, if I was running Microsoft, Bethesda, Blizzard, Activision, King, I would start hiring devs for Heroes of the Storm and then start putting Microsoft characters in Heroes of the Storm, because I think Heroes of the Storm could be that IP. For those who don't know, Heroes of the Storm is sort of Blizzard's MOBA, like League of Legends, which has characters from all Blizzard games in it, so Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch. And it's sort of dead right now, even though like it's a really good game in my opinion. It's sort of never sort of managed to compete with Dota 2 or League of Legends, especially League of Legends. So like Blizzard sort of put it in maintenance mode. It still gets patches and balance changes every now and then, but there's no more heroes or no more content coming as far as I'm aware. And the people that are working on it, they're working on it as sort of hobby capacity, I believe. They're just sort of doing it on the side of other jobs. But man, it was such a damn good game. And I feel like it would play really well on console as well. It really sort of drives me nuts. Because there's like no MOBAs on console. There's Smite, and that's it. Like even League of Legends isn't on console. That is really strange to me.
Maybe console gamers just don't care for MOBAs.
Maybe, but I would argue that they haven't even bloody tried. They haven't tried. Like Smite's pretty big on Xbox. But it's like...
Jeremy says, I disagree. Please leave Hero of the Storms in the grave.
Wow.
Call him Jez bad takes. No, I mean, I agree that Xbox, with everything they own, should have like, a fighting game team up or some sort of shooter with, Overwatch kind of, style things, or where it's just like a bunch of different characters, or a kart racer of some kind, or a party game, like bring back Fusion Frenzy and have a whole bunch of like Xbox characters as the, something like along those lines. Like you have so much, you might as well leverage it. So, I think
Heroes of the Storm. Do it. Bring it to Xbox.
I think
Doom Guy in it.
I think that could that's something they could do. Wolf Assassin says, "Is there any Japanese studios that are interested in working with Microsoft or being acquired? Come on, Microsoft. Atagi Games is right there." Well, we know one Japanese studio that wants to be acquired, and that's Platinum.
Yeah.
They're out there because their Babylon's Fall game had like 3 players or something on Steam. So,
oh man,
yeah,
I feel really bad for them. They're such a hit and miss dev. Like Nier Automata is like regarded as one of the best games of last gen, like top 5 game, and then they released Babylon's Fall. What the hell? It's really strange.
It is strange, but they're looking to be acquired. I'm sure there's other Japanese studios, but the one that's out there publicly is Platinum. Eternal Shaddai says, "Hello guys, I agree with you about marketing all Xbox exclusive games. Look at what happened at Recore Crackdown. It was silence. Rand, where's the camera? A camera doesn't exist until 100K. So get to 100K and then the big camera. So
round out camera.
Yeah. What else we got here? The Brightest Sun said Ubisoft bastardized open world and RPG genre, which I'm sure Jez will agree with. What else we got? Viper says, I don't sub to PlayStation Plus since I don't play online with my PS5, but I do sub to PS Now. The price is essentially doubled for me, as Sony is forcing me to get the premium tier to keep that library.
Oh.
I didn't even think about that. Right?
That's interesting.
If you were subscribed to PlayStation Now to stream those games, it was cheaper. But if you...
They're dropping it.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like they're forcing you to pay for the higher.
They're forcing you to pay. They're forcing you to pay more. You know, because I understand Viper being like, I didn't have PS Plus because I didn't play online, so why did I need it? But now they're essentially forcing me to pay for online, because you know the PS Now stuff is basically bundled in the second tier. Yeah, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And sucky.
Yeah. Highlander says Elon Musk buys Ubisoft and gives Ubisoft games with every Tesla sold. There you go.
And you can play them while it's on autopilot.
Yeah. Outbreak Podcast says Rand Jez 2 episodes of Xbox 2 in 1 week is awesome. Thank you. And we do have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we haven't even gotten into the main topic yet, which we will in a minute. And our buddy Special Nick of Xbox Era, who's got a podcast tomorrow. I was on last week. Good friend, even though, you know, he posted something about GoldenEye showing up at the Xbox Showcase, and I said, it's 2021, the year of our Lord. Or 2022, who cares about GoldenEye? And he's just like, well, you always attack me. He says, Jez, can I mention what we spoke about tomorrow?
What did we speak about? What did we speak about? Yeah, sure. If you're talking about the Blizzard stuff.
Well, you know what? Beat him to the punch. Let's just unveil that right now on Xbox 2.
Nah, this is Nick's stuff.
Oh.
But like I said to Nick, I don't know. I honestly didn't know what he asked me about, and I didn't know anything about it. But basically, like Nick sort of thinks he's got some information about one of Blizzard's IPs potentially being revived and used from the dead. So, you know, tune into Nick's show to hear some more about that if you like Blizzard stuff. A lot of Blizzard leaks lately across the board. Mobile and all that stuff. I'm really looking forward to the Blizzard mobile game. I've become a mobile gamer, Rand.
You have been.
What's wrong with me?
I don't know.
Like,
you're getting old.
I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe. I just every day, like I'm like halfway through Hearthstone's Battle Pass already. I've never gotten that far through a Battle Pass in my life. It's crazy.
BLN says, just realized I can't play Xbox games without online. And Psycho says, I'm sure I'll be shamed for this, but the new Star Citizen patch just went live, so gotta go. We'll catch the rest tomorrow. Hope you both have a great weekend. Okay.
Man, Star Citizen is like Schrodinger's game.
Yeah.
The game that exists that doesn't exist. But they seem to be making some progress on it now. Like, it was the most crowdfunded game in history, like something like $300 million, $500 million or something. It's raised an absurd amount of money, like whether it's crowdfunding or venture capital or whatever. But they've got to have some sick debts on that game. It's a really interesting project. I bet one day they'll make documentaries about Star Citizen, whether it launches or not.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about the Xbox Bethesda Games Showcase, Jez. So,
yeah,
if you guys haven't hit that like button, please do so. And yeah, this came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this. So, over on the Xbox Newswire blog, they say join us Sunday, June 12th, for the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase. Today, we are excited to announce the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase will stream on Sunday, June 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 12 noon for the best time zone, Central Time Zone. Thank you very much. This show will feature amazing titles coming from Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and our partners around the world. The Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase will include everything you need to know about the diverse lineup of games coming soon to the Xbox ecosystem, including upcoming releases to Game Pass on Xbox and on PC. And the one and only Phil Spencer also had this to add, if I can just find Phil Spencer. He said, yeah, Xbox P3 said, getting ready for events, spending time with studios, reviewing demos, announcements, scripts is one of the most fun parts of the show, or parts of this job. I feel like a fan who is sneaked behind the stage watching the show get created. I can't wait for 612 to show the amazing work of so many talented games. And I didn't notice, he also tweeted when we started the show saying, coming to the end of a good week. Microsoft's earnings were a nice moment for Xbox. It's always great to hear Amy and Satya talk about progress. Followed by the announce of the Xbox Bethesda Showcase. I just want to say thank you for all the feedback and support. Very much appreciated. So, yeah, let's talk about this, Jez. I was very surprised, although maybe I shouldn't be, because Tim Dog was telling me the announcement was going to be soon. He told me
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Tim Dog knew.
Yeah, he told me on Sunday that he thought the announcement was coming this week. And I was like, I don't know, Tim. I know I should stop doubting Tim. But I was like, I don't know, Tim. Like last year they announced it on May 26th. If it's a digital event, you don't need that much leeway. And here we have it on a Thursday. Basically, a month and 2 weeks beforehand. And it's announced. What do you think of them announcing it this early, Jez? Or
I think
earlier
it's,
than normal, I guess. Or usual.
It's interesting. Part of me wonders if they thought it was going to leak. And they was like, let's just get out there in front. But
we knew it was June 2. I mean, they have the same date mostly all the time, so anybody could have June 12th, whatever,
But maybe they're getting it out now because maybe they've got because in previous years they've sort of done stuff leading up to E3 because they had so much stuff to show off. Do you remember they dropped stuff for some smaller games in the run up to the main event to build hype and stuff? So maybe they're just sort of kicking it off now because all through May there's going to be drops here and there, and because Microsoft seem to have lined everything up that's happening pretty well from a marketing perspective. They sort of they had their investor announcements, which were Xbox is up across the board, blah 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 blah. And then leading into that, they're going to kickstart the E3 marketing all throughout May, and leading into June, the start of June, they have the big event, and then then the hype train continues into Q3 and Q4 with Starfield and stuff like that. So maybe it was just to cap off a strong investor call, which drove a lot of interest and hype. I wrote that editorial that Xbox got its mojo back before they announced the showcase, because I didn't know the showcase was going to be announced this week. Tim Dog knew, but I didn't know. And but I was hyped from the investor meeting that it really does seem like Xbox has a load of momentum right now, and then they kept that momentum going by announcing the show. So maybe we're going to get more smaller drops throughout May. I don't know. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Normally you announce it earlier because of physical events, right? Because people need to plan flights or stuff like that to go, right?
I've heard that there might be a physical event attached to this.
Really?
Yeah. I think they'll be... they are filming it in LA, or they've filmed it in LA, or they're going to film it in LA. But I've heard there might actually be some kind of physical event too. Even if it's not the full-blown E3. But I don't know for sure if that's going to happen or not at the moment.
Well, that seems really short notice for a fan fest. I mean, you're a month out. People need to get
I don't know if
hotels and flights and stuff. I
don't know if it's going to be a fan fest.
Oh, okay.
But
so it would be for influencers like Jez Corden. I get it.
Well, I don't know about me, but it'd be for maybe press who are over there and stuff. I don't know.
Maybe
But I don't know for sure yet.
Okay. No, fair enough. Metal Morbo says Blackthorn or Lost Vikings Revive would be cool in the super chat, as well as that's why Gordon says Kojima game reveal this summer. Eye emojis. And Spider-Man says, why does everyone say Mortal Kombat the movie was a bomb when it's still the most watched HBO Max show in first week of release? Well, Jazz, you gave me something to think about. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they did announce it earlier, is that they want to see if people can make it out there. But, I don't know if you noticed this, but Miles Dampier is in Seattle, and Code Eastwood is in Seattle. Code Eastwood saying, on my way to Seattle, eye emojis.
They are.
What's
That's
you know how many
interesting.
DMs I've gotten about those two being in Seattle at the same time? People are like, "What's going on, Rand?" And I'm just like,
It's interesting, right?
"Is something going on right now in Seattle, Jez? Why are Colt and Miles there?
I don't know.
Is Miles Dompier going to be the new host of the Xbox Games Showcase?
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be, wouldn't it? Ooh, I
Yeah.
see
But
Mr.
no, I think.
Gaz in the chat. What up, Gaz? You
I
know,
guess
Gaz is amazing.
with the sauce.
I'll be on Game On Daily again in a couple weeks. Gaz always asks me to be on, and I'm just like, yeah, I suppose, buddy.
With the sauce.
Supernova says, hello, everyone. Are we going to see the new Starfield console edition this show? How many times does Todd Howard will say it just works? Oh, yeah, a Starfield console. Is that something that could happen, Jez?
Starfield console, maybe.
Ooh.
I did see a really depressing story about custom consoles recently. There was a chap, I think he was on Reddit, who sent his Halo console in for repairs, and they sent him a standard Xbox back. How gutted would you be?
Pretty gutted.
I'd be gutted.
Pretty gutted. Nothing. It was just funny because Nick tweeted out the thing about GoldenEye, and I told you nobody cares about GoldenEye, and then Nick just showed our DMs where I said the same thing to him months ago. I said it's 2022. Who cares about GoldenEye? And he goes, F you, pal.
Them kids don't even know what GoldenEye is.
I know, right? Anyways, so the show, Xbox Bethesda, one show, and I guess this goes to you for trying to imply to everybody that I was teasing that it was going to be two shows when it was just my speculation about the idea of two shows, because I do think at some point in the future they might split. So I wonder if they're doing two shows because maybe there's not enough Bethesda stuff outside of Starfield and Redfall to show. But either way, do you have any sort of things that are 100% in your mind, absolutely 100% without a shadow of a doubt, going to be at the showcase?
I would put Avowed in that category of games that I 100% expect to be there. I don't know for sure about anything right now with regards to the show. I think a lot of it's really top secret and hard to get information on. But like you can sort of infer a lot of stuff that's going to be there. Starfield's up in the banner, so obviously Starfield's going to be there. A lot of people are expecting Forza Motorsport because it's been the right amount of time since we heard any information about it. And also, like, a lot of people are expecting it to launch this year. Forza Motorsport has been in beta, it's been in testing. There's been some like influencers who have actually played it, I believe. So, Forza Motorsport seems to be shaping up pretty well, and I suspect that's going to be this year. I also suspect, Avowed. We've long been expecting Avowed to be here, probably for a launch next year.
That's 2 times you said Avowed. Okay, you're so confident
that's
you
not
mentioned
twice.
it twice.
Yeah, I'm so confident I said it twice.
Avowed's 200% confirmed at this point.
Yeah.
Jez.
Yes, 200% confirmed. And then also, you got Redfall, sorry, Redfield? Redfield is the vampire.
Chris Redfield?
Yeah, Chris Redfield. Total global saturation. But yeah. But beyond that, there's like a load of stuff they could show. They could finally announce, some of my leaks, like Project Dragon. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't been cancelled.
That's what you get for announcing leaking all these things that are years out. You never know.
Yeah, you never know, right? Also, you've got like Compulsion Games game. You've got like Contraband, which we'll probably see more of. There's also some other stuff that was announced then when sort of Into the Shadows, like As Dusk Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Do we like get some information about Hellblade? Or do they save that for the Jeff Keighley Awards? There's a load of stuff that's sort of highly likely, but I suspect there are going to be a load of wildcards too. I think Microsoft wants to like maybe prove that we influencers, insiders don't know everything that's coming, and I'm sure that is the case. I'm sure there's tons of stuff nobody knows about. There are some projects that I know nobody knows about, because they're sort of hyper top secret stuff. Maybe Jeff Grubb knows. He knows everything. But for example, I'm pretty sure 343 is working on another Halo project that isn't Halo Infinite. Fairly sure, not 100%, but and then there's also the Minecraft spin-offs that we've heard about that haven't materialized yet. Not sure what those are. There's a bunch of code names that we don't really know much about, like Project Vonnegut, which we believe could be Shadowrun related, which is I think I posted the code name and then Jeff Grubb attached Shadowrun to the code name. And then there's stuff like Project Indus, which is a strategy game, so we've heard. Man, there's just tons of stuff, you know. There's also the new cloud publishing division. Did we talk about that before?
We mentioned it, but we haven't really talked about it in depth or anything.
Maybe they'll like announce some cloud native games, or maybe it's too early for that yet. But maybe they just want to get a foot, you know, make their presence known, maybe, and be like to Google. See, this is how you do a cloud native game, Google. You know, this is how you make these kind of games. But it's going to be a good show, I think. In any case, I think a lot of it. I think it will skew Bethesda heavy, you know, with stuff like Starfield and Redfall. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I mean, what do you think?
Well, this is going to be a hard show to predict because they have so many projects in varying degrees of development, and they could show anything or everything if they really wanted to, I think, right? Last couple of years has kind of been easy. And I'm not bragging per se, but if you go actually watch my videos, my last two prediction videos for 2020 and 2021, I got the entire first party slate right. It wasn't difficult to kind of predict what games Microsoft would show. But right now, very difficult. Because you have Bethesda and Xbox. But then you're also at the point now where Xbox has a bunch of games releasing at the end of this year, and then presumably a whole bunch of games releasing next year, plus 2024. And there's just not enough time at the show to show everything, right? So it's going to be very difficult. For instance, like Hellblade 2. I think Hellblade 2 is a 2023 game. In fact, part of me thinks it's like the holiday game, so to speak, for 2023, right? But they just showed it at the Game Awards. So did they show it again? And then show it again next year? I don't know, right? Fable hasn't been shown or talked about since 2020. I think Fable's 2024. Do you not talk about or show Fable this year? Same thing with like Perfect Dark, right? So there's games that can be shown. It's just a question of, I guess it really depends on what Xbox's focus is. And I think Xbox's focus is going to be on games coming this year and then their 2023 lineup, personally. So that's why I think stuff like Perfect Dark and Fable and Jez's Project Dragon and stuff that's further out won't be talked about. But there's still quite a lot of stuff supposed to be coming basically in the next year and a half that it could fill up a show. I mean, clearly 100% Starfield's going to be at the show. It's the image, it's the main focus. The question whether or not that I have is, how long is the demo going to be? Is it going to be 10 minutes or 20 minutes? And is it going to open the show or close the show? Right? That's really the only questions I have about Starfield at this point. Because it's going to be there. Because it's the whole focus of Xbox for this year. Redfall will be there because, as far as we know, it's supposed to be launching this summer. And summer runs between June, July, and August, or July, August, and September. So if it's not delayed, and even if it is delayed and it's coming next year, well, it's going to be at this show. But people also forget the smaller things, Jez, because people think about like, oh, what new announcements or new trailers can I see for games I haven't played yet? But Xbox loves to talk about and show off trailers for existing updates for current big games. So, for instance, Forza Horizon 5, huge game, 20 million players are approaching. You don't think there's going to be like a 1.5-minute trailer for the new expansion for Forza Horizon 5 at the show?
I would say almost certainly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird because I have literally no idea what that could be right now.
Right, so I would presume Forza Horizon 5 will be there with the new expansion. I mean, Halo right? Halo's got to be there with something. I guess it really depends. Is your Project Tatanka Battle Royale ready to show off? I mean, that could be what they show. Like, hey, come in this fall, Battle Royale's coming to Halo, right? That's something. Sea of Thieves, big game. They have seasons. Like, you could easily show a trailer for that. Grounded 1.0 is supposed to come out. Full release. They could show a trailer for that. I know it's not sexy or hype because it's not anything new, but realize that this is Xbox and this is what they like to do. Like those, live service games are going to be talked about. Game Pass is obviously going to be a focus as well. I guess the question I have to you is, do you feel that the Xbox Game Pass family plan, is that going to be announced this year? This show would be a good place to announce it.
Yeah, it would be a good place to announce it, but it hinges a lot on partner deals and stuff like that. Like, is the legalese set in stone for like doing that right now? I don't know, but I would hope so, because I know a lot of people are really into that idea of having family plan. I think even I might subscribe to that just for my mates.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. So it's like they clearly mentioned even there like new games coming to Game Pass, right? So like they're going to be new announcements, third party, first indie games, right? That are going to show off. But I agree with you. Avowed is going to be there. I would want to say Hellblade's going to be there because I think it's the big game for 2023. I think Contraband's going to be there because, as you said in the show, you had heard that Contraband was originally targeting 2022 and they delayed it internally to next year.
Yeah.
So if Contraband's coming, that's going to be there. Josh Sawyer's game, Project Pentiment.
Belfry.
That most likely will be there. Trying to think just off the top of my head, any other studios. Compulsion's games, Project Midnight. Been talked about that they're targeting 2023, and you haven't even revealed their game yet, so this would be a good time to reveal their game. Jeff Grubb and yourself have also mentioned that the Coalition have another project that isn't Gears, and that is targeting 2023. So, do you show off the Coalition's new game? I mean, hell, Jez, I mentioned this yesterday on the podcast I was on with Pong Soul and Mav. Even though I like your idea of a Fallout 5 ending tease, what if you ended the show on Coalition's brand new IP or new game?
Yeah, I mean, if it's impressive enough, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So
I really want to see them do a melee-oriented medieval game, because Unreal Engine is so great for crunchy kind of violence. I just want to see that out of Coalition. I don't know.
So there could be the Coalitions. That's what I'm saying. Like, it could be all these things, but then of course there's a lot of people want to see Fable. I see a lot of people talking about Fable in the chat. A lot of people want to see what Perfect Dark looks like. We haven't even mentioned In Exile, and they're working on their big steampunk shooter RPG, Project Cobalt. There's just so many possibilities that it's going to be hard to narrow it down to just a few, because you definitely have Starfield and Redfall, and you probably have some of the live service games getting an update. Forza Motorsport's probably also going to have some reveal. I mean, hell, Forza Horizon 5 had like a 5-minute demo, so they could easily have like something for Forza Motorsport if it is releasing this year. There's just not enough time, and this is why we've been saying that Microsoft needs more shows, because you have all these projects, and that's not even like, is Bethesda showing anything new? Is ZeniMax Online's game ready to showcase? Maybe for recruitment purposes. Is id Software ready to show what they're working on? Is
Indiana Jones
is Machine Games, are they ready to show Indiana Jones and something that's not a teaser? What about Wolfenstein 3? Is that being worked on? What's Roundhound Games doing? Like, the possibilities are just so much, and there's just so much that's not going to make the cut, because you're only going to have... People have been saying, this is definitely going to be a 2-hour show. I think you're probably looking at max, like... 100 minutes, maybe an hour 45. I don't think they approach 2 because, there might be an XO at the end of the year where you would want to save some game announcements. Then you might want to give something to the Keeleys, right? For his game awards. And then maybe you have some shows planned for next year, so you necessarily can't like run everything out, but they're definitely going to have their pick of the litter this year, which, it's going to make it difficult for when you're writing your article, trying to like, hey, what to expect from the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, because anything's possible this time.
You've just written it for me. Thanks, Rand.
What, are you going to listen back to this?
Yeah, I'll just literally just copy everything you said and just be like, yeah, this is mine.
Well, people are like, is it confirmed to be 90 minutes? I don't think it's been confirmed to be 90 minutes yet, but most shows, Xbox shows, are around that time frame. So
that seems to be the time frame they like. Is 90 minutes ish.
Zero says, is Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to Game Pass this June? I've seen people talk about this, like Final Fantasy VII Remake announced at the VGAs, or not the VGAs, at this showcase. What do you think?
I have no clue, man. It's really hard to really pinpoint whether that's even coming or not at this point. I know like people want it. It's Final Fantasy VII. It was a big deal, and it was almost promised, because they literally put an expiration date on the exclusivity deal, and it's still not here. It's almost mean to say Xbox fans to sort of tease them like this and then not deliver, but it's business at the end of the day, right? Will it be there though? I have no idea. I would love to believe it would be, but at the same time, it's really easy to just be like, yeah, I don't think so. But I don't know. Is the truth.
Okay, so we got a lot of super chats about the showcase, so let's get to them. We got one here from Thor Ordison that says, think Microsoft acquiring any of the WB Game Studios? We already talked about that. That was kind of like 30 minutes into the show, so if you want to hear our thoughts, you can just scroll back to the very beginning. I'm very much on the, yes, Microsoft acquire. The more the better. Jez is a party pooper as usual, so.
That's mean.
Metal Morbo says, perhaps new work from Compulsion's game. I think me and Jez both agree with that. James Riggs says, I just want to see Big Phil. Anything else is a bonus. He wants to see Phil Spencer. What is Cognito and King call him on the Iron Lords podcast? Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer.
Wow.
I think that's the nickname for him. Daswell Gordon says, yo, Jez, could the Cloud division be related to Kojima's new game? Apparently he was shopping around a cloud-based game to Google, but that fell through.
Yeah, that's the rumor, is that he was going to try and make some kind of cloud game for Google, and it just didn't happen. I mean, yeah, this is where Microsoft sees a lot of this stuff going, and it's kind of like, it's a bet, right? They're making a bet. Their bet is that in the future there will at least be some games that are entirely native to the cloud, and you don't even play them on your local machine. The whole game streams. But obviously that introduces some unique challenges. Like, you have to make a game that maybe isn't so latency intensive. So you have to make the game work around the technology, and figuring out how that looks while also, maintaining the fun that people expect is going to. Oh, am I disconnected?
You kind of cut out there, but yeah, I think you answered everything.
I froze up. I was like, I was just saying they need to sort of find how the technology and the fun intersect there, because a lot of the cloud native games that exist today, they're very basic, or they're like card games, like Hearthstone, for example, or they're like, MMOs generally. And then even then, a lot of the what happens actually happens on your PC and not necessarily in the cloud. Just sort of sends your positional information up to the cloud. But cloud native would mean that you just stream the video of the game, I would presume, or like, the very limited assets on the client with stuff like I don't know. I can't even like think of any examples because there isn't really any on console. But that's the whole point, is they're trying to find out how this could actually work and how this could actually be fun. If there's anyone who can figure that out, it's probably Kojima, because he's the kind of guy who he's kind of known in the industry for thinking outside of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't always like nail it, I would say. I'd say like I don't think it's unfair to say that while, I appreciate Death Stranding for what it is, I think some of the experiments sort of didn't pay off as well as they might have hoped. That being said, it was still a cool game, and I kind of appreciate that they even tried to make it, kind of. So I guess there's a chance we'll see something from the Cloud Division, but I wouldn't hold out for it at the moment. I think it might be too early, but who knows,
Yeah. Tyson says God Howard better have his leather jacket. Humdrum says hope Fable can be there. Show gameplay teaser and in-engine to show people that it's still coming. Coalition new IP going to be exciting. One Piece X SOT. So he's One Piece X Sea of Thieves.
Oh yeah, One Piece Sea of Thieves thing. That'd be really cool. I'm not a fan of One Piece, but I know that it's a really popular IP. So they shut down that Jump Force game. What's it called? Jump Force, which had like the One Piece stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you're a One Piece fan, I mean, that's probably the next best thing, right?
Yeah, Supernova says, do we expect the unveiling of the new AAA Moon Studio game from Private Division?
That's interesting. Would it be at the Xbox show? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would say
maybe yeah.
I would say no.
Probably not.
But who even knows if it's even ready to show?
Yeah, true.
Silver says Avowed gameplay with 2023 March date and Senua's Saga 2 gameplay trailer with combat and more action, and as well 2023 at the end. But holiday's my dream. Gold Chill says, you see my super chat at the very beginning? I have to go back and look for it, but I will do that in just a minute. Humdrum says Starfield should be 10 minutes. We need 2023 roadmap. Agree. And that's what I think they're going to focus on. I think they're going to focus on Starfield and the games releasing this year, some Motorsport and Redfall, maybe like As Dust Falls. The Game Pass stuff, you got stuff like Somerville and Replace that were announced last year. I don't necessarily think those will be shown again, but they'll have new announcements. And then their 2023 lineup, if it's as big as we think it is. And that's not even to say, like, I know the Activision deal hasn't gone through yet, but could Diablo 4 be at the show? Diablo 2 was at the Xbox show last year, Jez.
Well, I'm pretty sure Diablo 4 will be at the Xbox show. I mean, they're probably going to want to start solidifying the fact that Xbox and Bethesda are one and the same. Not Bethesda.
I was going to say Activision.
Activision. They probably want to start solidifying that idea. And that would be a good opportunity to do it. And also, half of the Diablo team is used to work for Microsoft anyway.
That's true.
Rod Ferguson used to be at the Coalition, and so did Josh Kerwin, who now runs Diablo marketing for the Diablo brand. He also used to market Gears of War. So half of the Gears of War team is now working on Diablo, or at least a couple of people. But it's really funny how that all sort of came around. Rod Ferguson left, and then he's coming back, and Josh Kerwin left, and then he's coming back. Also, I want to give Josh Kerwin a shout out because he's a really awesome guy. But anyway, yeah, I think Diablo will be there. I think that's a really good shout, actually. That makes total sense. And Diablo 4 is going to be it's going to be a big deal. I'm pretty damn sure about that.
Well, Zach Riley says, I bet we see Modern Warfare 2 debut during the Xbox event.
That'd be pretty cool, too.
I
said in the investor meeting that it's the most advanced Call of Duty yet, but then they always say...
Yeah, they revealed the logo, and that, got a lot of people like, yeah, I mean, I do like the logo, and it's got, the new game coming with Warzone, but I would think Sony still has the marketing for that. I don't think it'll be at the Xbox show. Obviously, the deal's not going to be done by then, so I would hold off on thinking Modern Warfare 2 is coming to Game Pass day one, because I've seen some people talk about that. I don't think that's going to happen. And if it shows up in anybody's showcase, it'll be PlayStation's. At least I think it will.
I think Diablo will be there though, even if COD isn't.
Well, yeah, but saying COD has a multi-year deal with PlayStation though. That's why I think it'll be at PlayStation show. Oh, the best spot, Kid Smooth. He says, 100 minutes show. Starfield gets 10 to 12 minute demo. Todd Howard announces deep dive for Monday. That is interesting because I was thinking something along the lines of Todd Howard ends the show with the Starfield demo that's 10 minutes long, and then says, "Hey, tune in to the Xbox extra showcase with Paris Lilly. Will we even have an even longer demo of Starfield?" You know?
Yeah, maybe they do that for 2022 because maybe people just don't have the patience for a 20-minute long demo at the show. They kind of did that for World of Warcraft too. They had the World of Warcraft stream for Dragonflight, and it was like so many minutes long. And at the end, they were like, "Oh, we're going to do a deeper dive and do some interviews and other shit." So maybe that's the way you do it in 2022 because people's attention span's been destroyed by social media. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know mine has.
Elichin says, why is Microsoft so resistant to making a third-person game? They've got like 15 games announced without even one. Showcase probably will not go over well without one. So he thinks they need a third-person game.
It is a fair point. You know, it's one thing that continues to sort of, like, Microsoft keeps posting great financials, and, you know, there's a lot of hype about projects that have leaked and stuff like that. But it's true that we're still sort of in this holding pattern, waiting for the kind of third-person action games that Sony has in droves, but Xbox doesn't. So I think they need to answer that question at E3, and personally, I think they will.
Highlander says, does Mike Ybarra stay as head of Blizzard after Activision deal closes?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. You don't think he won't get promoted to head of Activision, do you think, right? He'll just be the head of Blizzard?
I mean, there's a chance he could become head of Activision, I guess. But Mike actually likes Blizzard. So, I mean, that was kind of his dream job. And I think, like, splitting Activision and Blizzard is probably something they would want to do anyway to make Blizzard stand on its own.
Do you think
because a lot of Blizzard fans, they don't care about what Activision's doing, and they actually resent Activision. So maybe they give Blizzard its identity back and make Mike the CEO of Blizzard or something. I don't know. I would like that.
Do you think we see Mike Ybarra on an Xbox stage again in the near future?
Yeah, why not? I think that'd be really interesting and funny and sort of almost ironic. Like, even like Rod Ferguson and Mike back on the Xbox stage after all this time.
Yeah.
After leaving. Coming back.
Marcus Harrison says, do we get a Banjo or a family-friendly game announcement / return, or the official return of 1 versus 100? See, that's the thing.
This 1 versus 100 thing.
You know, that anything's possible. I mean, Jeff Grubb kind of talked about 1 versus 100. I guess that maybe, you know, how far along that game is, but people have been asking for Banjo for how long now? Or a family-friendly game? So
yeah, I think Banjo might be something they want to do, but maybe they don't have the studio to do it yet. But I think that changes when you get Vicarious Visions, who, by the way, don't exist anymore.
But I mean, that changes because you get Toys for Bob.
Yeah, them too. I was just thinking about remasters for Banjo, but Toys for Bob could just make a whole new Banjo, I guess. Vicarious Visions, even though they don't exist, maybe they will exist again. I don't know. But
I mean, they keep on talking about the family-friendly stuff, so at some point it's just going to be, you're going to have to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
So whether you find a studio to remake Banjo or find some studio to do a Banjo sequel at some point, you're just going to have to throw the fans a bone on that one. And you can't just constantly say, hey, we want more family-friendly stuff, but then never deliver on it.
Yeah,
Boba Fett Gaming says, do you expect a Redfall delay, or is it quite the opposite, a surprise shadow drop in June? Great stuff, Jez and Rand. Well, they said summer of 2022, and that was basically July, August through September. I always looked at it as more of late September release. I kind of also think the game might be coming out in October, so maybe it got like a small delay. But you never know how things go, right? Like maybe get delayed to next year, but I don't really think it's going to be a shadow drop. If anything shadow drops, it'll be the Forza expansion. Right?
Yeah.
So no, I expect Redfall to be like September, October. Treybone says, where the hell is that Exomecha game at? That game got delayed, I want to say, to next year, or maybe was it this year? Maybe it got delayed to August of this year, I think. THX says, Xbox.com, add event to calendar shows, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So apparently that's the date. That's how long the show is, Jez, according to the calendar on Xbox.com. So an hour and a half, 90 minutes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Which is exactly what we thought it would be. Daswell Gordon says, I would die if Playdead showed their new game. You and me both, man. Can't wait to see what their next game is, because it's been quite some time since Inside. So
yes, it has.
Yeah. So that's the showcase. I'm sure, as we get closer, we'll talk more about it and get our final predictions. X the Gamer says, I just seen a post of someone showing Battlefield 2042 with the Game Pass logo. What do you think? Also, rumor of some WB IP in studios being sold. We talked about the WB stuff. I mean, Battlefield 2042 is going to come to Game Pass at some point, as all EA games do. I know FIFA is supposed to come this month, according to some of the listings I saw. So at some point, Battlefield will as well. But would anybody care at that point? Because it doesn't seem like anybody cares about Battlefield now at all. It kind of... Yeah.
I'm like... I can't believe... Like, Battlefield was the one franchise that, even while EA was screwing up everything else, Battlefield was the one franchise that I always felt like was safe from EA's meddling, and that DICE would carry it through in the end. But they've even corrupted the Battlefield now, so it's kind of dead to me. It's dead to me.
Okay.
Rip in peace. Rip in peace, Ryan.
Rip in peace. Supernova says, where is your next destination, Jez? The desert or the depths of the sea, to see if there any news about Xbox?
Well, my next destination is 3 kilometers up in the air, because I will be flying back to England at the end of the month.
Ooh.
At the end of May, yeah, I'm going back to England for a little while, visit family and stuff. And then, yeah, so we will be podcasting from England then, I guess.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Should make things more flexible as well if things go awry. But and what was the other question?
Well, he was just wanting to know your next destination to get Xbox news, but
yeah. We're always looking, always digging.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with your article about Xbox getting their groove back, right? Because Microsoft reported their financial records for January, February, and March. And it just so happened that there's the best non-holiday quarter ever. I was combining ever and revenue. The best non-holiday quarter ever for Xbox revenue, with Xbox hardware, content, and services revenue all up in the third quarter. Gaming revenue was up 6% year over year, from $3.5 billion to $3.74 billion, and that is the best non-holiday quarter ever for Xbox.
That's awesome.
Xbox content and services revenue was up 4% year over year, with growth in Xbox Game Pass subscriptions and first-party titles partially offset by declines from third-party games. And hardware revenue increased 14%, driven by continued demand for the Series X and S. And even on the call, Satya Nadella, CEO, saying that the company has seen Xbox capture market share back for 2 quarters in a row. Quote, we are the market leader this quarter among the next-gen consoles in the United States, Canada, the UK, and Western Europe. So
they're fighting back. They're fighting back hard, which is like what we always wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the Meissen years, Phil came on, but it was like, Phil had to cut through decades of corporate red tape to get Xbox to where it needed to be in terms of support from Microsoft, in terms of investment. Man, I am honestly in awe of the the effort and the complexity to get Xbox to where it is now. That's like Hall of Fame shit.
Yeah,
Feels like a bit of a legend, to be honest.
Consider like this is super impressive. Super impressive. Because you're coming off a generation where, you were a joke, you were a laughing stock. People didn't like what you were doing. There was the meme was Xbox had no games, right? And it's not like Xbox has put out a whole bunch of games so far this gen. I mean, they only launched with Gears Tactics. Last year, even though they were Publisher of the Year, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon. Some people say it's just always Halo and Forza and Gears, right? None of the studios that they acquired have produced anything. So you have a console, first off, that you don't even need. Let's get that let's get that through people's heads here. And remember that you don't need an Xbox console to play Xbox games. All of Xbox's games are on PC. So you don't even need the console. And the demand for the Series X and S is far beyond what the demand was for the 360 and the Xbox One in the comparable time frame. Even to the point where, like Satya said, that they're the next-gen market leader for the past 2 quarters. That's the past 6 months, essentially. They've outsold the PlayStation 5, who most people, in fact, the vast majority of people, said that PlayStation was going to continue the complete dominance of Xbox, even without shortages, even with the shortages, that it was going to be a bloodbath, that PlayStation would, continue its 2-1 beatdown, 3-1 beatdown, 4-1 beatdown, even if PlayStation couldn't get any stock out there. Well, the reality is a little bit different. Because PlayStation is having a hard time getting stock for whatever reasons. Xbox made maybe the smartest play of the gen by having a $300 system, which you can basically produce 2 Series S's to every one of the Series X, right? That are available on store shelves more often than not. So if somebody wants to come in there and check out of something, the Series S is right there, right? So not only are they doing this well, better than they ever have before, right? Best like non-holiday revenue quarter ever. When I think this past holiday was their best holiday quarter ever. There's like people out there that will have you believe that Xbox is dying. That Xbox isn't doing well simply because it doesn't make as much money as PlayStation does, or doesn't sell as many consoles as PlayStation does, or its games don't sell as many copies as PlayStation does. They'll be the ones to try to hit you over the top of your head with the idea that Xbox is dead and buried. But yet it's doing better than ever, with a console that you don't even really need, and hasn't even released any of its significant games at this point. Like, their entire strategy of 1 game per quarter hasn't even hit yet. Like, Game Pass hasn't even hit its damn stride. Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda haven't even begun their onslaught of games. And you're already at this point where, maybe you're at 15 million, 16 million consoles sold. Game Pass is 25 million, maybe 26 million. Who knows what it's at now, approaching 30. You got Starfield coming at the end of the year. You got all these games coming next year and beyond. It's like, who could have seen, this turnaround? I thought Xbox would take market share back from PlayStation for sure. I didn't expect it to be like this, but you wrote that article about getting their mojo back. And like you said, you're always impressed with what they're doing, especially, Phil's leadership, right?
Yeah.
So
imagine when they finally get Activision Blizzard in place, And I do think, like they've said categorically, Call of Duty will stay multi-platform, and I think it always will. But I think like there's a future where games like Diablo and StarCraft spin-off, maybe they go exclusive. I think that's certainly almost definitely possible. But even if they're not exclusive, they'll be in Game Pass. They will be in Game Pass, and it becomes almost like it takes us back to where Netflix was at the start of their rise, when they had no competition. There was no Disney, there was no HBO Max, there was no whatever other services competing with Netflix. Netflix had the whole market to themselves. They were a market disruptor in the way that Xbox Game Pass is a market disruptor right now. And when they start putting Call of Duty Day 1 into Game Pass, and presumably that is exactly what they're going to do, that is going to be a market disruptor, like even more than it is now. You're going to see Xbox hit a sort of critical mass that they haven't hit since the 360 generation, I would think. Because Call of Duty, in a lot of ways, was the disruptor for Xbox Live Gold, when Call of Duty became the behemoth that it ended up being, across Call of Duty 3 and especially Call of Duty 4. It's, they're doing it again with Call of Duty and Xbox Game Pass. And then, as we expect, they'll bring down the paywall for Xbox Live Gold, which will give it the ultimate value proposition, and it will become the ultimate differentiator between Xbox and PlayStation. It'll be a symbolic value differentiator. Then we're going to see a shift that Xbox hasn't experienced since the PS3 launched at like $600 or whatever it was, $500. It was $600, right? The PS3. It's $500.
Yeah, it was
$499. It was expensive.
Well, they had the 20 gig version, which I think was $500, and then the 60 gig version, which was $599. But yeah.
And then everyone shifted to 360 in droves, and this is coming off the PS2 era, which Sony was so confident that they could not be touched, and Xbox proved them wrong. Xbox and PlayStation's hubris very much proved themselves wrong. So, while Sony's floundering with its sort of, we're sort of half supporting PC and we're sort of half going to have a subscription service, Xbox is out there disrupting aggressively. So, So, I think it's going to be an interesting future for Xbox.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the Xbox and Activision stuff. There was some movement this week where the day of the shareholder meeting, Bloomberg wrote an article that was routinely criticized by people like Hoglaw, that the Wall Street is basically betting that the deal won't go through. And Hoglaw basically called that article complete and utter bullshit. And he just trashed that article in his video, Hoglaw being a mergers and acquisitions lawyer. And then the shareholders unanimously, 98% voted for the merger, for the acquisition, which is funny because I saw articles like a couple weeks ago that were like, this group within Activision Blizzard is telling people to vote no. And it was like a group that had like 1% of the stock or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
and
please.
Like it was 98% yes, and the people that generated headlines were in that 2% who said no.
Yeah. It's like, please, come on. Of course it was gonna. It was never in doubt that the shareholders were gonna say no. It's about the regulators, the FTC, the EU, and any of the sort of stuff that they might find there. But it almost seems like there's people out there that don't want this deal to go through. Period.
Of course I don't.
Is that more because they... What way do you see it, Jez? Is it because they see it as industry consolidation and they don't like it, so they're against it? Or do you think maybe there are some people out there that just don't like it that it's Xbox acquiring Activision, so they're against it?
Well...
A little bit of both, maybe?
It's probably a little bit of both. I think part of it is a lot of people are probably cynical, and they think the Biden, I can never remember how you pronounce his name, Biden. They probably think the Biden administration will be over the top aggressive with regulating it because they want to rein in big tech, whatever that means. Even though Microsoft is like probably the most socially responsible corporation on earth, and they're setting an example that other corporations should follow. I mean, we can discuss like the merits of a company having a $2 trillion market cap, and we can discuss the merits of billionaires even existing. But this is our current economic system, you know. And I think like to block this deal is sort of like it's ideological rather than good sense, you know. So there is a trepidation, of course, that the politicians in Washington will arbitrarily block it for some reason, even though they let Disney buy Fox, and even though they let Discovery and Warner Brothers merge, and even though they let Comcast own all these other companies and whatever, you know, and even though Microsoft will still be in third place for revenue, even if they acquire Activision Blizzard. They're still going to be behind Sony, and they're still going to be behind Tencent. And Tencent is, you know, a competing foreign technology company from a hostile dictatorship, and who are harvesting Westerners and sending the money back home to a hostile government. You know, so you're sort of like you're suggesting that Microsoft should be regulated even harder than Tencent, which to me makes no sense. So there's a sort there's a sort of ideological fear about it around it, because the politicians, left and right, it doesn't matter, they're all scum, and left and right, like no matter where they sit on the aisle, they're all one. They all big tech is the new thing to attack, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, big tech is bad for this reason and big tech is bad for that reason, and they all want to attack big tech, and that's like the thing du jour right now to attack. And you know, and so there is this fear that they'll sort of try and block it, but at the same time it's kind of like they've got no grounds to block this. They have got no grounds to block it whatsoever, because like I say, they'll still be in third place. And this is the only way that 98% of shareholders are going to get any return on their investment, because if this deal does not go through, Activision Blizzard shares are going to crash. They literally reported that Call of Duty's lost half its monthly active users down from peak. Blizzard's lost millions of its users as well. Like the wheels have come off the Activision train, and Bobby Kotick does not know how to fix it. He does not have the expertise to fix it, and he sure as hell doesn't have the investment to fix it, you know. So it has to go to Microsoft. It has to go to Microsoft for the investors. It has to go to Microsoft for the people who work there. So they're with a company that actually has some vague sense of social responsibility. And sure, Microsoft has its problems. Microsoft is a damn huge company, you know. But that's just it. You know, it's a huge deal, and there's a lot of uncertainty about it, because there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. If you take a look at the stock market's getting a battering. Everyone's pulling their money out of the stock market, you know, because there's so much uncertainty in the world, and the markets are fickle, you know. But yeah, Andy594 says, invest all your money in Blizzard then, Jez. I ain't got any money. What money? Invest like £10 and get like
your millionaire money
£5,
from Windows Central.
Oh yeah, a millionaire money. Yeah, that's me. Fair enough.
Rick Gaffney says, I love this podcast, best show in the world. Thank you so much for that compliment.
Thanks so much.
We got one from Jonas the Dad. Says 16-year-old just got her first job, KFC Taco Bell combo. She's excited to get her own Game Pass. She wants Ultimate. Yeah, that was around when I got my first job at 15. Coincidentally, also at KFC. So, yeah, have her tell her to enjoy her job. Although I didn't last long at KFC, so I couldn't imagine working at Taco Bell. But hey, 16-year-old, where else are you gonna work, right?
When I was like 14 or 15, I had a friend whose brother was working at McDonald's, and man, he was like the worst employee. We'd go in and he'd get like one of those giant bags, those McDonald's bags, and he'd just fill it with fries and give it us for free.
That sounds like the best employee.
Right, he's the worst employee for them, but great for us.
Well, when we worked at KFC, they throw everything out at the end of the night, like, and you know, you ever have the KFC pot pies or whatever?
I don't think they have those here.
So like the pot pies were essentially, at the end of the night, whatever was left over would be thrown out. However, you would debone the chicken, right? And so the chicken would then be used in the pot pies for the following day. So like the chicken meat in like the pot pies were like the older chicken. So I ended up getting my buddies all hired with me at KFC, right? I was 15, 16. I ended up getting my buddy Mike hired there, my buddy Kevin, my buddy Joe, my buddy Brad. So it was great because it'd be like as soon as school was over or whatever, like I'd go there, and one of my friends was always working, so we just hang out, smoke some cigarettes, get paid, and then at the end of the night we would start like, oh, there's like 10 extra, chicken tenders or whatever. We would start preparing food for us just to bring home. So like before we close, like, oh, let me just put this chicken patty on. Let me get some fries. Oh, you guys are throwing out the chicken breast and so we would just like grab everything and just put in a box and then go over to my buddy's house and play WCW NWO Revenge. So like we played WCW versus NWO Revenge and just have like these boxes of KFC for all of us to eat. Great times. Some of the best times out there.
Man. And you dipped the fries in mayo, right?
No mayo, Jez. No mayo. Tyler in the Super Chat says, finally caught you guys live. Love the content you both produce. Some exciting and awesome times ahead for Xbox. Yeah, you know how many people that are subscribed to the channel, Jez, who never watch the show because, like, one, maybe they don't like podcast, or, we podcast in a day, they can't watch it or whatever. Like, so many times I see in the chat being like, oh, man, it's my first time catching you guys live, which is always super awesome. I just wonder how many more people would catch us live if, like, we did the show on Wednesdays instead of Fridays or whatever. But thank you.
Well, we appreciate all you guys, either whenever or however you listen. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Elnsha says, COD first on Xbox or early skins or modes? I guess we'll find out eventually. Who knows? They may just keep it as it's on Game Pass for Xbox and just on PlayStation as a full price title. And maybe they have some exclusive perks or whatever, but we won't find that out for a while. And Porter John says, at least Battlefield has a great campaign, wink wink. Yeah. They didn't no campaign in this year's Battlefield, so it would just be the multiplayer. Oh man. See, people know what I'm talking about with WCW versus NWO Revenge. They know.
Man, NWO, actually no, NWO Revenge was alright. NWO Revenge was a great game, but I had like the follow-up game, well, I suppose it wasn't WCW, but it was WWE No Mercy, man. And like I was so hyped for No Mercy because I never watched WCW. Like my only exposure to WCW is NWO Revenge, the N64 game. But like, so I was really hyped for No Mercy, but the first wave of No Mercy cartridges for the N64 were broken. They were broken. And like after like the memory got full or something, the save file would just wipe. So we couldn't make any custom characters, couldn't do any progression. Every like couple of days or every few days, the whole cartridge would just wipe. I was devastated. And of course, back then you couldn't get updates. And the store wouldn't give me a good refund for it. They were like, oh, you can trade it in for like 75% the value. And of course, because I was a little kid, destroyed the box and packaging and stuff like that. Oh, man. Them old days, like we always think about the old days and be like, oh, man, things were better in the old days. But were they?
Were they really?
Actually better? No internet, no updates, no Xbox Live. Were they actually better? I don't know.
Faith Wallace says, Jezzo Rand, what is going on with the Activision Blizzard? I watched another YouTuber and they said the Activision Blizzard deal was canceled. But then that YouTuber lied to you, sir, because it's not canceled. In fact, the Activision shareholders just approved it. So the only thing left really to do is for the governments to approve the acquisition, and that's it. The question now is, when will that happen? This year? Next year? There are people that are saying it'll, maybe it'll happen this year. I think it'll be early next year. But anyways, we're almost approaching 3 hours. No idea the show would go as long as it did, considering we did another show earlier in the week. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them. And if you guys are leaving, thank you guys so much for being here. Hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate each and every one of you, whether or not you're just lurking or you're going to listen to this later on iTunes or Spotify. Make sure you give us a rating on iTunes or Spotify, so it helps us out there so more people can discover the show on the podcast apps. And even though this specific episode isn't sponsored by Manscaped, we do have the code XB2 to use at manscaped.com for anything on the store. 20% off, worldwide shipping. So keep that in mind. Jez loves the boxers.
Boxers are really good.
So, Bugsnax is now out on Xbox Game Pass. Jez, you going to check it out?
Yeah, maybe. I actually just dropped a code for Bugsnax in the chat.
Ooh, we got a Bugsnax code in the chat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe we could get some giveaway bots running on the chat, and we could do some giveaways at the end of shows in the future. But in any case, are we gonna take a few questions and get out of here?
Yeah. We're waiting for the questions to come in here. We got one from Humdrum who says, "Chances we see Perfect Dark gameplay to show that it's still coming." I don't know. I remember Grubb said last year that it was targeting 2023, but I don't know if that's still the case with Crystal Dynamics coming on. There was a part of me that thought, okay, so you revealed Hellblade in 2019, and then 2 years later you come to the Game Awards with Hellblade gameplay. But in 2020 at the Game Awards you revealed Perfect Dark. So then 2022 you'd come back to the Game Awards with Perfect Dark gameplay. But I don't know if they'd actually do that. So I don't know. Do you think Perfect Dark will show up? I'm gonna say no.
I would also say probably no. I think they're still iterating through. Well, I think it's been confirmed that they have a plan in place now and they're moving forward. But up until now, they've sort of been incubating different ideas and prototypes, I think. So I would expect that they don't necessarily have something to show right now, but maybe soon in the future. Lucius Augustus won the Bugsnax code. Thanks for your support, man.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Irish guy wants to know if there's any Armored Core news. I mean, none that I know of.
The rumor is that that's FromSoft's next game, Armored Core.
Okay.
So can you imagine like a Souls-like mech game? That's intriguing to think about. If it is a mech game, maybe they'll try something completely different. Right.
Tyler wants to know, do you think we'll finally see some Avowed gameplay this June? Indeed, I think we will. 100% I think we will. Jez has already seen it, as I have as well. So,
yeah.
Calorix wants to know, do you think we will get an update on all Xbox games, including Bethesda, or do you think a few in Starfield will be the major focus? I think we'll get updates on any games coming this year and next year. I think that is going to be the focus. So games further out, I don't think we will get much on. So I personally think Perfect Dark and Fable are 2024 titles. So I think they won't be at the show. But I could be wrong. Like I said, maybe I'm thinking differently than what Microsoft is thinking, and they want to show Fable this year because they showed it off in 2020. Do you go essentially 3 years without anything on Fable? That seems like a long time, right? So maybe Fable does show up. I don't know. It's just the possibilities are quite a lot. So, but then again, like I said, maybe Jeff Grubb leaks the show a week beforehand, and we all know anyways, right? Whittier says, Jez, will you wear an Xbox tartan kilt?
I would totally do that. Did you see the tartan controller they made?
I did, yeah.
That was pretty cool. So Xbox working with a company that makes official tartan kilts in Scotland. They made a tartan fabric Xbox controller, which is somewhat amazing. AC Bongos, of course, is from the north of the UK, in Bonnie, Scotland. So it's pretty cool. My grandfather is Scottish, funnily enough. And I have no idea what our family tartan is. I should probably find that out.
Soil Kleenex says, Rand and Jez, do you think the fact that Shadowrun games are coming to Game Pass might lead to a new Shadowrun RPG, maybe by Arcane? I would be down for an Arcane game, an Arcane Shadowrun game. Yeah.
Yeah, I never played the original Shadowrun games, or honestly, I hadn't even heard of them until we got the code name for Vonnegut. and then Jeff Grubb attached Shadowrun to it. So certainly seems like we could get some more Shadowrun in the future, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll get tired now. 3-hour podcast and it's 1 a.m. here.
I know. Hold on, we're almost to all the questions.
Crawling to the finish line.
Ball 16 says, I think Rand doesn't care about the GoldenEye remaster because he's still scarred about playing against Oddjob on split screen. It's just, who cares about a game from 1995 or whatever year it is?
I just used to lure people into C4 traps playing GoldenEye. It was a fun game, but like I don't really care to play it again.
Rel says chances on a new God of War, Jez, or new Gears of War showing up this year.
New Gears of War.
Like Gears 6.
Hard to say. I think it's a fairly decent chance that the Coalition reveals Gears 6 before they reveal the next game.
So you think they reveal Gears 6 before they reveal their new game, even though supposedly their new game is supposed to come out before Gears 6?
Oh, is that a fact?
I mean, I don't know it's a fact. That's just kind of like...
That's what's out there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. If that's the case, then I guess maybe not for Gears 6, but I think that obviously they want Gears 6 to come out because that finishes off the trilogy, right? Yeah, but Gears 5 kind of ended on a pretty major cliffhanger, so...
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could end the show on Gears 6 this year, but do they? I don't know. Well, I don't think Gears will be there. Trey says, what happened to your jazz last night, Jez?
Jazz? What jazz?
I don't know. He says, what happened to your jazz last night, Jazz? Unless he's just trying to... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Our buddy Pong Soul says, Rand and Jez, Age of Empires 4 console version announced before or during the showcase?
I think that could be something they announced before the showcase. It doesn't really seem like they need to give a big platform to that, but I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they'll like look at how we've revamped the controls and stuff like that. Because obviously, for Age of Empires to work on console, they're gonna have to, revamp the controls a fair bit. So I guess it could be there. Be interesting. Also, Horizon Herb says, what about the Wu-Tang Clan game? The Wu-Tang Clan game, like, I think it's a smaller game, and I also think we leaked that way in advance of it being ready, so I'm not sure that'll be there. But I do think that Project Belfry from Stoic will be there, because I think that's coming out either this year or early next year. So I think that's pretty close to being finished. But we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. Ghosty said, will Avowed be shown this year? Me and Jez both think so, yes. Zatanna says, any chance Xbox drops completed acquisitions in June that may have been done before Activision? So essentially kind of like 2018 where they announced a new studio.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Basically, that they're just hiding, that they have completed acquisitions and they're waiting for the showcase to announce them.
It's hard to say. I would say no. I think everything's going into Activision Blizzard now, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of flying blind right now.
Blind. Two players says, do you think Forza Motorsport will have a free-to-play element incorporated into it?
Avowed?
No, Forza Motorsport.
Oh, will it have a free-to-play component?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm going to say no, because it's kind of a reboot. Maybe they don't want to... I don't know. Maybe they don't want to sort of mess around with the formula too much. But I also could be wrong, because I think Microsoft's experimenting very heavily with how to drive engagement right now. But Forza Horizon 5 didn't need a free-to-play component, did it?
No,
it doesn't have one, right?
Forza Horizon is a way bigger franchise than Motorsport, though.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, there's an argument to be made for it, because there are some free-to-play racing simulators on Steam that are quite popular. And they're sort of like... They're often the go-to, because people who are like racing sim enthusiasts, the people who like build, rigs and they want everything to feel as realistic as possible. They don't necessarily care about the bells and whistles and a lot of that stuff. So I don't know. It could make sense for there to be a free-to-play component to it, or even like sort of like tiers that you access, like how Killer Instinct was free to play, but then like you pay for the cars you want or the characters you want, or then pay full retail price to get everything. I don't know. That could be a business model that I could explore, but I think it'll just have a standard $60 business model though.
Right. And Humdrum says,
And Game Pass.
think Crimson Skies or Mech Assault come back? I mean, well, there wasn't just a new Mech Assault game that came to Game Pass, like Mech Assault 5 or something. I don't think Mech Assault's ever gone away, really. Crimson Skies would be the one that comes back.
Well, Mech Assault went away. We got Mech Warrior.
Oh, was it Mech Warrior? See, I'm confused with Mech Assault and Mech Warrior. So
yeah, I mean they're similar but sort of different. Mech Assault was very more. It was a lot more arcadey and sort of agile, and whereas Mech Warrior is more of a sim. It's like a mech sim almost. You have to properly build up your mech, and can be pretty slow. But man, I really like the Mech Warrior universe. Do you know how much lore there is in the Mech Warrior universe?
No, is
there
a lot?
Yeah, it's a really deep universe and franchise. Like it's a tabletop role playing game. Like Cyberpunk was. So like there's this whole universe established for Mech Assault, Mech Warrior. It's called the BattleTech universe. There's the whole BattleTech game on PC, which is okay. It was fun up to a point, but it was like, and you hit this hard wall of like ultra difficulty and complexity. The difficulty ramps up really high, but like a Mech Warrior 5 it's decent, but it's also kind of dull and a bit janky and stuff like that. But there's so much lore in that universe, and it's really good lore. It's really compelling and interesting lore. And I really, really want the Coalition to work on that IP so bad, because I know they're doing an amazing job of it. Like the small mechs that you get in Gears feel so good to use. And even then, I was like messing around with like the little walker loader thing you get in Gears 4 and 5, and it was just like, man, it feels so good to use this. But I don't know. There's problems with the IP and the license. Like Microsoft doesn't fully own it, so maybe it just won't happen. But yeah. A man can dream.
A man can dream. And Rick says, any hardware reveals this year?
Yeah. So there's those rumors that Microsoft's refreshing chips and stuff, but I don't think we'll see those this year. Maybe like 2024 when we start seeing console refreshes, like a Xbox Series X Slim, maybe, if you can make it any slimmer. It's pretty. There's a lot of beef in that machine, but I don't think we'll see any hardware this year. Like we talked about Xbox making a handheld maybe someday, and maybe they'll announce some accessories. Maybe Series Elite 3 we are now, Series Elite 3. Maybe they'll do some sort of mobile phone handheld controller or something. Maybe there'll be some accessories, but I don't think they'll announce those at E3. E3 is generally strictly games, but maybe in the after show where they do like a deep dive into stuff, maybe that's where they announce that. There's going to be a lot of stuff that week, a lot of news. It's going to be a busy week at work, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't even decided. Are we going to do a podcast right after the show, or are we going to do a show on Monday and then like a special show on Friday with people from the community like we did last year? You'd probably be too busy to do a show after the showcase is over. You'd be too busy.
Yeah, we'll need to plan close to time. I have no idea what my work schedule is going to look like that week.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it, guys. Jez, as you can tell, is about to fall asleep, so we got to get him out of here, get him into his little bed, so he can dream about Overwatch 2 and how amazing it is, and how he loves it so much, and he can't wait to play it in full release next year, probably, right? You love Overwatch 2 so much?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, Rand. I ain't a big fan of the changes they made to Overwatch 2.
I said that specifically to get a response out of you.
Well, it's just like they've removed the tank from Overwatch 2. So, like, if you're playing a DPS class, a damage class, or a healer class, it just feels like you die so fast now. It kind of reminds me of Titanfall 2. Whereas like in Titanfall 1, you had some sort of room to maneuver, like in your Titan, like they were quite beefy and tanky. But now everything, the time to kill in Overwatch 2 is like it feels so high, or it's just so fast, and it feels very different. I need more time with it to see if I like it or not. But early impressions were not good. I was just like, man, they've messed with the formula in a way that I don't like, and they removed all the stuns from the game. Like McCree used to have this like really cool combo where he could like stun and then empty all of his bullets at close range and basically insta-give someone if he caught them. And it was, it was really fun to pull off. It's pretty nasty if you're on the receiving end of it. But if you know there's a McCree in the game, you play around it. You react to it and counter it. But they removed his stun, so now it just feels like a regular arena shooter. There's like no dynamic aspects to the combat. You just have to aim and shoot and kill stuff. There's no like tricks and there's no combos or anything like that. It feels like some of the dynamism of the game's been sucked out of it. And maybe they're doing that because they want to reach a broader audience and make it more simple and twitchy, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it so far, but we'll see.
And with that, we're going to end the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week, hopefully on Friday. And who knows what sort of news Jez has brought down from the mountain with him. This could just be the beginning of an avalanche. It's just
you might be sounding like Moses.
I mean, you went to the mountain, and there was nothing there, but as soon as you came down, it followed you. So it must have been frozen up there, and it just took a while to get back. So thank you guys, so cool. And we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.
Keep it gaming. Later.